What if Kisuke Urahara were to die in the Bleach verse and be reincarnated into our well-known protagonist with Naruto Uzumaki? What would happen and how would the story change? Now, if you guys don't know, Kisuke Urahara is probably actually the smartest Shinigami in all of Soul Society, even smarter than that of Aizen, when Aizen admitted that Urahara was smarter than him. And pretty much Urahara's powers entail of pretty fast flash steps, I guess like good ho-ho speeds. He was on par with Yoruichi when it came to Hakuda. He makes Kido, like he's probably better than Tessai when it comes to Kido. And his Zanbakuto's ability is pretty much reality warping. He can make anything with his sword. He can make a shield. He can, I guess, make an energy type beam of light in a sense. Pretty much anything. And he can make inventions that are pretty useful. Like he made the Hokyoku, which Aizen used to basically transcend above Hollow and Shinigami, becoming a transcended being. And his other inventions, like the Senkaimon, which he made for Ichigo and the rest of his friends to get over to Soul Society, the Stealth Cloak, which he used himself to sneak attack against Aizen, the invention which she gives Yoruichi her access to her Raijin form, I think it's called, and other inventions that are even more useful, like the sword that gave Ichigo his powers back. Without further ado, guys, I'm gonna stop talking and actually get to the video. But yeah, sit back, relax, and enjoy. Alright, so we pretty much start this what if at the birth of Naruto Uzumaki. Obviously he would still have his blonde hair, but it actually won't be like the same blonde hair. It's more like, since the blonde hair Naruto has is like more yellow, it would have just been, I guess, the same blonde as Urahara. I guess is dirty blonde. I don't know how to describe it. Like beige. So pretty much what would happen is Obito would still put the explosive tag on Naruto's blankets, making Minato use the flying Raijin to basically get him out of there, which then would leave Kushina open, as Obito would then pretty much rip out the Nine Tails, as he would force it into a summoning pact before then releasing it into the village. Now, once the Nine Tails was out, rampaging, Minato would pretty much, like, all the events would go exactly the same, but something weird would happen. So, pretty much once Naruto would see his parents, getting murked, pretty much for a few seconds, his spiritual pressure would rise as he would access his Bankai for a few seconds unintentionally, basically transforming Kurama into that of an atom. He just doesn't exist anymore. And yeah, it would just use existence erasure to completely destroy Kurama. Like I said, he would turn him into an atom before then imposing his spiritual pressure onto Kurama, as he would cause Kurama to like melt away in a sense. So no Kurama for Naruto. Sorry, but it is what it is. So pretty much after the Nine Tails attack, pretty much Obito would leave the same way, as he promises he'll come back for revenge, as pretty much Naruto would be raised by none other than Hiruzen. But something weird would happen. Over these course of the 4 years, Naruto would be seen doing, acts that would prove his high intellect. Like when he was 2, he would have the mindset of, the Hokage or other beings who possess higher intellect. and he really showed the, I guess, the wanting for knowledge in a sense, even though he was like around 4 years old. So pretty much Hiruzen would see that Naruto was quite the prodigy in a sense. Obviously, he is Urahara's reincarnation. But basically, he would start to teach him in simple stuff like swordsmanship and Hakuda, or Taijutsu. And pretty much he would learn a specific style, kind of similar to that of Guy, but completely better without all the gates. And it was similar to that of Yoruichi. And obviously, the sword he would carry, he would have, I guess, how do I say this? He would have just randomly gotten it, as Naruto would have taken interest in being the stealthy one, as he would have sealed the sword into a cane. Now, we'll do a time skip about 2 years when Naruto was around 6, and pretty much Hiruzen has seen that Naruto has been doing like D-rank missions around the whole village, like the D-rank like chore missions, and he's been doing pretty good at them. And even one time he almost prevented, like one time Naruto was on a D-rank mission when Orochimaru was still, like, he pretty much was the one who caught Orochimaru doing his experimentation, since Orochimaru technically didn't leave until after the Nine Tails attack, if I'm not wrong. I may be wrong though. But basically, due to Naruto's help, there was like a small, let's just say like a small arc where Naruto was just doing his D-rank missions and came upon Orochimaru. So pretty much this would, I guess, start Orochimaru's awareness of Naruto's high intellect, as even though Naruto was only 6 years old, he was pretty much, how do I say this, keeping up with Orochimaru when they were talking in a sense. They were like having a debate, and like Naruto was clearly like on the winning side since Urahara is very intellectual. But yeah, he didn't actually fight Orochimaru. He has no reason to. He hasn't even unlocked his Shikai. So no, he would have just kept his sword into his cane and all. But pretty much one day, Naruto would meet with 2 people. He would then start to do missions with them, constantly doing even the highest, as you know, going into double S rank or just S rank missions. And you're thinking, who are these 2 people to actually like bring Naruto and do D rank missions with like a 6 to possibly 8-year-old? Obviously, this would be none other than Itachi Uchiha and Shisui Uchiha. So pretty much what would happen is Naruto would form a bond with them when he was just as young as 6 years old, and he would have went on them on different missions, starting as small as a B rank mission, going to as high as an S rank mission. And one of them S rank missions was to basically stop the Mist Village from gaining intel on them. Him and Shisui and Itachi went out the village as they scared the Mist Village, or Ao, because he had the Byakugan, with their high power, I guess you could, chakra or spiritual pressure, as I would sense Shisui, Itachi and Naruto, as Naruto would gain a reputation throughout the lands for being young and still like completing as many missions as a captain of a Anbu class, like the division. So yeah, Naruto is quite known throughout the lands for his inventions, of course, as well, as he would have made different inventions, or at least got ideas and started brainstorming for different inventions, being the stealth cloak, the portal, like going throughout all the lands with just a portal. But the small drawback was he has to actually be there to imagine it. He can't just go wherever he wants. He had to be there at some point in his life and to actually, go there, which is, it would have been too OP have Naruto just like open a portal to the Akatsuki base and all. That'd be too broken. So pretty much what would happen is the whole Uchiha massacre would go the same way, as Shisui would die, giving the Sharingan to none other than Itachi with the crow, like inside the crow, as he would die. And Itachi would go out with the Uchiha Massacre clan, telling Naruto to stay in the village, as he would give Naruto information about the Akatsuki clan. So maybe one day he can possibly, with a new generation, he could make a portal and possibly invade there. What I'm trying to think, actually I'm not going to tell you, I'm going to go over it later on. But pretty much what would happen is Naruto, with the death of Shisui and the defection of Itachi Uchiha, had actually had time to start his own shop. He had become a businessman when only being 8 years old, as he would have started a weapon shop for, I guess, ninja from all over the villages. So yeah, there was no discrimination, at least. So pretty much he would start his business as he would sell weapons, inventions like the stealth cloak or the portal or the portable gi guy, just other inventions like that, or possibly even, I guess, inventions that sped up the progress for elemental releases, or gave you a book that gave you ideas on possible elemental manipulations for anyone who actually got that far into elemental release. But other than that, we'll time skip to, I guess, a certain day. Now, no one has actually ever done this in Naruto, so I'm gonna be doing it. So pretty much I'm gonna have, I'm not even gonna tell you, it's gonna be a surprise. So pretty much one day Naruto would be invited to a auction, even though he was at the time only 12 years old, but he did not look like a 12-year-old. He looked like quite the adult at that time. I mean, due to Urahara being quite the tall man, around, I think he's like 6'3" or 6'1". I'm not sure. I'll probably search it up later after I make this video. But he was around 5'8", only 12 years old. I mean, I know other 12-year-olds who are actually like 6 foot, but let's not talk about that. So pretty much he was invited to an auction to sell weapons and inventions from other villages, all between the 5 great nations, or not the nations themselves, but families within these nations, like the Hyuga clan or the Nara clan, even though they weren't really all corrupt. But basically Naruto was at this auction as he would have bought in a few books, I guess you can say, not books, but like formulas to new inventions and new possible ideas, since Naruto was always thinking and making plans for the future, possibly making every what if, not actually this what if, but what ifs, like what if scenarios for every possible situation, which he had done with this exact auction. Well, he was there for this one specific item, not item, but a person. Now, there was this how do I say this, a prodigy throughout the lands who had mastered the taijutsu and even took it to a new level of infusing lightning with taijutsu styles, making it a new, how do I say this, a new style throughout the whole nations. Obviously, this would be none other than Yoruichi Shihoen, as pretty much what happens, people would be buying her, I guess, since she was pretty strong. It would be a good addition to the village, as I don't know, I don't actually mean buying, I mean, like, how do I say this, it's like buying a mercenary, that's what I mean. So pretty much Naruto would be the highest bidder. He had attained a lot of wealth throughout the years of keeping his business sustained, as he even made business with the Akatsuki. Obviously, he would give them good weapons at first, but soon or later he's gonna start giving them weapons with trackers on them. Obviously, that's not yet, but basically what would happen is Naruto would bid on Yoruichi, since she was pretty strong and she would be a good mercenary, I guess you can say, or a good right hand man. Technically not man, but you know what I mean. And pretty much what would happen as he would actually win. I mean, obviously he has a lot of money. Like he's a good, all right, I'm not even going to go on a tangent, but pretty much what would happen is you would offer, sign the contract to buy Yoruichi as a mercenary, as they would then leave, as Naruto would then pretty much go back in with his stealth cloak, as this was technically an illegal auction, so he could probably shut it down and nobody would even know what he had bought. So he would go through the auction, as he would start I guess, how do I say, sealing people, or I guess putting them in place, as he would then send a message to the third Hokage and other Anbu, as they would come in and they would shut the whole auction down, arresting everyone, as everyone would say that Naruto was there buying inventions, and he was probably the main conspirator. Obviously nobody would believe them, since Naruto was one of their greatest ninja. They would he would never betray them. Obviously this wasn't seen as betrayal, he was just doing what every businessman would do. So pretty much Naruto would head back to his shop, which obviously would be the same shop, the candy shop with the training ground and other installments. As once he would get there, he would show Yoruichi around, as he would ask her where is she from, like where was she born and all, as she would say she's from the Cloud Village, which is more logical since usually everyone who knows lightning manipulation were from the Cloud Village, since they had a strong affinity to lightning. Obviously their the Raikages there, they were very specialized in lightning, and I think so it was pretty easy to guess, as pretty much what would happen is Naruto would use inventions to make her stronger. So she learned her new technique, Shunko, which I guess she had an idea of what it was before, but due to Naruto's inventions of speeding up her training, then she would have learned Shunko and went on to learn her new form, which she used in the 1,000-year Blood War arc against Askin. I believe it's called Raijin, but I'm not sure. So, and obviously Naruto wouldn't need to use the invention to control her, like in the form, like she doesn't lose her consciousness or anything like that. Like she still retains her consciousness, I guess. So pretty much after like Naruto and Yoruichi kind of start doing business with other villages, with Yoruichi guess now making the business more variance, I guess, and more unique, giving people, I guess, inventions to help them in their taijutsu. Since Yoruichi is a taijutsu specialist or Hakuda specialist, it's kind of the same thing. And also they start selling inventions to make people go faster. I guess controlling the chakra to your feet specifically, while giving a moderate amount to the rest of the body to keep your life force going. But this would make them severely faster, as they would have to get used to it at first, but after that they could control it. So Naruto was probably even the pharmacist now. No, I'm just kidding. But he did make a lot of drugs, like food pills, that actually tasted good. Obviously, we see that when Naruto ate food pills, when he was making doing the Rasen Shuriken training, it was disgusting. Obviously, I think it's because Sakura's not good at making food pills, maybe. But let's not get off topic. So pretty much after Naruto gets his business in check, he realizes he should probably join a team. It had been 4 years and he had been 16, as he and Yoruichi would decide that maybe they should join a team, start teaching the new generation, as they need to find a way to take down the Akatsuki as soon as possible, and hopefully they can make new friends on the way there. So pretty much what would happen is he would go over to the Hokage's tower, as he would request that they were to join a team. It would be more smart if they join a team and help the new generation become stronger, as Shuzen would agree, as Naruto and Yoruichi would be placed in the academy on the team selection day. So Naruto would be walking in with the same outfit as Urahara, and the clogs and the cane and the hats, the bucket hat and all, as Yoruichi would then be in her usual outfit, the orange and brown outfit, I guess. I think as Naruto wouldn't actually like usually most reincarnation what ifs where they're reincarnated from a captain, they would usually have the Hayori of the Captain Hayori, right? Well, since Naruto technically, I guess Kisuke technically wasn't a captain at the end of Bleach, he wouldn't really have a Hayori of the 12th Squad Division. So yeah. So pretty much what would happen is Naruto and Yoruichi would walk in, as everyone would be surprised at their arrival. Nobody really knew who Naruto or Yoruichi were, but they were looking quite interesting, especially people who gave them glares, not glares like angry glares, but lustful glares. Naruto did not look too bad himself. It's obviously, I don't even need to explain about Yoruichi, come on. Pretty much. They would walk in, as they would sit next to Sasuke. It would have been a table based on 3 people. So pretty much what would happen is Sasuke would then, look towards the right, as he would see Naruto. As Naruto would, kind of get into his carefree attitude, saying, yo, what's up? As he would, offer his hand for a handshake, as he would say, I'm Naruto Uzumaki, and this right here is Yoruichi Shihoen. As pretty much Sasuke, for some reason, didn't actually feel as moody. or at least today he had a good day. He woke up on the right side of bed, okay? So he would have accepted the handshake saying Uchiha Sasuke. As Naruto would say, oh, yeah, I've dealt with some Uchihas before in my line of business. How about, I hope one day I can see you get the Mangekyo Sharingan. Sasuke would be like, Mangekyo? What's that? As Naruto would say, oh, have I spoke too soon? I'll tell you later. As pretty much Iruka would walk in, as he would start to explain to everyone what will be happening today, saying that the new students, or not students, but graduates, would be Naruto and Yoruichi, and everyone know their name and all, and where they came from. As obviously everyone kind of already knew Naruto. I mean, their parents did, because they bought weapons and other drug enhancements from Naruto, since he was quite good in that aspect. So probably after school they'll realize who Naruto is. So pretty much what would happen is Iruka would start to go over the team placements. Team 7 being Naruto, Sasuke, and Yoruichi, with their team sensei being Kakashi Hatake. Now the next team would then be obviously Team Kurenai and then Team Asuma. So after about a few minutes, Iruka would tell them that they're just going to wait here for the team senseis to come along and introduce them to their team, but for now he's going to head out. You'll probably not see them for a few years, since now they're going to start their journey as a ninja, and he wishes them good luck. So pretty much Iruka would head out, as Iruka, oh, I already said Iruka, my bad. Kurenai and Asuma, they wouldn't really take long to, pick up their teams, about 5 minutes, but for Team 7, let's just say they took way longer, as pretty much Kakashi would probably take about 2 hours to get there. Like, he saw too many black cats. Obviously, let's not forget the fact that Yoruichi has a fucking cat form, but that's actually black. No, I'm just kidding. But it's, never mind. But pretty much what would happen is once Kakashi would get there, no one would actually be pretty mad. Sasuke would just kind of be there looking all broody and shit. But in this time, Naruto would start talking to Sasuke, asking him as he awakened the Sharingan and all. And Naruto would be interested in Sasuke's development, as he pretty much remembers Itachi's last wish for Naruto. Well, we'll flashback there. Naruto and Itachi were at the Uchiha, I guess one of their hideouts, where they showed the gods, obviously like Amaterasu, Tsukuyomi, and those gods have gave them power in their Sharingan, via Sharingan. So pretty much Naruto and Itachi, they were meeting there, as Itachi right before the Uchiha massacre would ask Naruto as his last wish to basically take care of Sasuke and making him as strong as him, so hopefully he could defeat, so hopefully Sasuke can defeat him. Obviously he's talking about himself, Itachi. As pretty much Naruto would, kind of sigh as he would accept, saying that he'll probably make him even way stronger, possibly even the strongest Uchiha in the whole world. As Itachi would say, of course, he's the only Uchiha. There's no other Uchiha to compare him to, other than me. Yeah. So, pretty much Kakashi would tell everyone, after the whole short flashback and all, to head back, upstairs. Not back, they were never there, but head upstairs to the roof. Now, once Team 7 would get to the roof, Kakashi would start to tell them, to pretty much introduce themselves, as we'd go from Yoruichi to Naruto to then Sasuke. So Yoruichi would say her likes her training. I don't know. She really likes Hakuda, so yes. Her dislikes are people who are slower than her, since she is the goddess of the Flash goddess. So she just doesn't like racing people who are slower than her. Obviously Naruto is faster than her, stronger than her in every aspect. So yeah, I guess wait, that's just a random tangent. But pretty much what would happen is she would go over her goal. Her goal is to become the strongest specialist in Hakuda, and the strongest lightning user in a sense, or lightning specialist. So yeah. And by the way, instead of Kakashi teaching, Sasuke the lightning manipulation, it's mostly just gonna be Yoruichi. She knows more lightning than Kakashi, and she has a more stronger affinity to lightning. So pretty much after she would introduce herself, it would go over to Naruto. Naruto would say his likes are I guess, looking for new ideas for inventions. His business, of course. His dislikes are not having business. He doesn't really have much dislikes. And his other dislike is people who want to change the system itself. Someone, obviously, you can see his ideal is, that's just how the world is and all. And then in that argument, he says, like, the Soul King is just a linchpin, and that's just how the world is. Aizen obviously says that's an argument only a loser would say, obviously disagreeing with his ideal. So I assume that Naruto would, obviously, it's obvious he would have the same ideal since he is Urahara's reincarnate. So then he would say his goal is to become the smartest man in the world. As obviously, he's already accomplished that, but we just gotta rub in his face. Amado got nothing on us. No, I'm just kidding. But basically, would go over to Sasuke as he would say his usual goal of wanting revenge against Itachi. As once Naruto had heard kill a certain someone, you'd obviously know it's Itachi, as he would sadden for a few seconds. Obviously, Kakashi would see this as he would know why. He had been friends with Itachi, and he doesn't want Itachi to die that fast. He was only, if he actually did his calculations right, he would only die when he was 21. That was a pretty short life, as, obviously Sasuke does not know the truth, but it is what it is. So after Sasuke would introduce himself, pretty much Kakashi would tell them to meet him at the training ground tomorrow, pretty early, like 5:30. I'd suggest you also come a little bit early, and to not eat, as Naruto would obviously see past his psychological trick, as once Kakashi would leave, him and Yoruichi would be walking off, as Sasuke would be like, wait for me. As Naruto would turn around, as he would say, what do you need, Sasuke? As Sasuke would say, I want you to train me. As Naruto would say, what can I train you? I'm just a candy shop owner. As Sasuke would say, I know that you sell weapons and other inventions like that, and also drugs for speed enhancement and all. As Naruto would say, I guess you caught me, so you want me to train you, right? As Sasuke would then say, yeah. As Naruto would say, okay, first you just have to survive this. As Sasuke would say, survive what? As out of nowhere, a huge slash would appear on Sasuke's chest, as he would fall over. As Naruto would say, if you manage to crawl over to my shop, I'll know that you have the resolve to want to train. As Naruto and Yoruichi would walk off, as Sasuke would be there, you're slowly getting more blood out of his wound. Obviously, it won't be too deep, but it was enough to make Sasuke crawl. So pretty much Sasuke would then have to crawl over by his chin and his arms as well, as he would make it over to his shop, getting flashbacks of like why he wants to kill Itachi and other situations in his mind like that, making his resolve grow stronger as his revenge to kill Itachi, or his desire to kill Itachi, strengthens. As Naruto and Yoruichi would watch from afar as Sasuke would grovel the ground as he would make it over to the Urahara shop, as once he would get there, immediately his wound would close. Obviously, this would be the help of Naruto, I guess reconstructing it. Obviously, if I didn't mention, Naruto would be able to use his Bankai's abilities without also going in Bankai. Seems pretty simple. I just have to let you guys know. But pretty much what would happen next is Sasuke would then start training with Naruto and Yoruichi. Pretty much what would happen is Sasuke would go through damning training, let's just say that. Naruto would then make a hyperbolic time machine, as not a time machine, but it slows down time, distorts it, so they have more time to train. So pretty much like an hour in the hyperbolic time machine, or an hour out in the real world is like maybe 6 hours. So they have a lot of time to train, probably around 2 days. So Sasuke would go in, as during this whole training, Naruto would have the intent to kill. He would swing and cut Sasuke a few times, as Sasuke can feel the malice. So in this time, Sasuke would then be pushed to awakening his three-toed Sharingan, which is actually pretty logical, as Naruto would feel the constant waves of death coming from Naruto, as he feels like he was gonna die, which is actually very valid. He was gonna die, but basically due to this, Sasuke managed to actually push back, sending a few fireball jutsus as his taijutsu and his vision would increase dramatically as he went from the 1-to-1 Sharingan to the 3-to-1 Sharingan during this time, as Naruto would be impressed by Sasuke's astronomical, I don't know what the adjective for Naruto, basically Sasuke's, I guess, jump in strength. Oh my god, I've been butchering, but forgive me on that. So pretty much Sasuke, after the day's training, he would have just passed out. Broski, he was tired. So it would have been around like evening, like dinner time, I guess you could say, like 7 p.m. as Sasuke would then drop dead, not drop dead, but like he would fall asleep. He had been training in there for about 6 hours in the real world, but in the hyperbolic time machine, he had been training for 36 hours, which is around 1 day and a half. So he would fall asleep as Naruto would pick him up and put him in one of the beds. That sounds sus, just me thinking of. Okay, never mind. But he would put Sasuke to bed as pretty much he would go and just continue working on his inventions and other stuff like that. So the next day, Naruto would then go to Sasuke's room, or the room he was sleeping in, as he would wake him up, telling him it was time to head out for training. Obviously, once Sasuke would see the surroundings, it wasn't like 5 a.m. It was like around 10 a.m. As Sasuke would say, "Oh my god, we're late." As Naruto would say, "Just calm down. Oh, how about we eat breakfast first?" As Sasuke, obviously, from all the training, he had forgotten that they weren't supposed to eat breakfast. So obviously, he would oblige, as Urichi and Naruto would have made something up. Not made something up, but like made something like for breakfast. As he would give it to Sasuke, as he would eat it. Like, it was pretty good. Like he really liked it. As pretty much they would head out to the training ground, and once they would get there, they would wait for about 30 minutes. As Kakashi then appeared, as pretty much the whole time Kakashi would then be waiting there, as he kind of felt that Naruto would know the trick, so he would have went there early just to see if he actually fell for the trick. Obviously, he realized he didn't, so he was just gonna wait here until Naruto gets here. As once Team 7 would get there, pretty much he would jump down from the tree he was standing in, as he would walk over to Team 7. Now, once he would get there, he would start to explain what the bell test was, as Naruto was he already knew what the bell test was, and he obviously Sasuke and Urichi would be ready to work together. So would obviously with Naruto, as they don't really care about how many bells they could get or who's going back to the academy. They were all going to work together no matter what. So once Kakashi would then say go, Sasuke would create cover for them, as he would then use fire style fireball jutsu, then using fire style phoenix flower jutsu, kind of combining the jutsus, making the fire stronger. Naruto helping Sasuke would then use the Hado number, I believe it's 73. It's like a wind based, it's Hado number 73 Tenron. And pretty much this Kido is a wind-based Kido. It creates a tornado of wind, as it pretty much, obviously this would enhance the flames, making it pretty big. As that kind of sounded sus, but basically it would make the flame stronger. Now, if you're wondering how is Kakashi gonna, defend against this, pretty much Kakashi would then go through a few hand signs, making a water-style water dragon jutsu. As what he would try to do is he would just try to aim for the middle where he was standing, so it doesn't matter if the fire on the left or right side get around him, it just needs to focus on the fire that's actually going to hit him. So he'd make a water style water dragon jutsu, dividing the fire into two, as it would barely miss him, like it would go around him. Not around him, but it would go in between. Basically the flames would split off and then it would go around him. That's what I'm trying to say. As Kakashi would then be seen with his headband raised, as his Sharingan would then be activated, or not activated, but he would be focused. As Kakashi would get out of kunais, he was ready to fight Naruto. Naruto was a sleazy bastard, and he was ready to fight Naruto no matter what. So Naruto would then unsheath his sword from his cane, as he would then say, "Awaken, Benihime," as his sword would transform into his Shikai state, as it would gain that of a red aura, as Benihime was quite excited to slice and dice and all, since Benihime is the Red Crimson Princess. Obviously, the Zanpakutos can obviously be seen as a sadistic type in a sense, or at least that's what I would think. So he would start slashing at Kakashi. Every swing, the sword would become more excited in a sense, as it hasn't been used in a while, since Naruto doesn't really have any time to fight or have any reason to fight anyone. Well, basically what would happen as he would clash with Kakashi, as he would use, scream Benihime as a huge red beam of light with a sound effect on it. I don't know how to. It was basically like a Sero at that point, as pretty much with the power of the swing and the Shikai ability, this pretty much sent Kakashi, like it would broke the kunai, as it would send Kakashi sliding into a tree. Now once the smoke would then be revealed, Kakashi, there'd be a huge dent in the trees. Kakashi would be there, kind of dazed in a sense from the attack, as Yoruichi would then appear next to him, as she would then go for a kick to basically kick him in the rib. And obviously this kick was infused with Shunko, as Kakashi would then be like, oh shit. As what would happen is he would quickly dodge it with his dazed self, as he would barely dodge it, as he would go throwing a punch at her, and at the last second he would have pretty much switched out, making a lightning shadow clone jutsu. So what would happen is Yoruichi would then catch the punch before then dispersing of the clone. Obviously the clone would then turn into lightning and electrocute her, but obviously Yoruichi being quite adaptive to the lightning, she would just absorb the lightning into her form, becoming stronger. As Kakashi would watch this, as he would gain a sweat drop, thinking he just unintentionally made Yoruichi stronger, as he would start to get scared, before suddenly Naruto would say, so how's the view? As Naruto would appear behind him before then slicing down, as pretty much Kakashi would gain a huge slash over his chest, before Naruto would then slash him again, gaining an X mark of cuts over his chest, or the middle of his chest, before then Naruto would then would knock out Kakashi, as they would tie him to the tree. Now once Kakashi would wake up, pretty much Naruto would explain to Kakashi that they pretty much passed due to the point of the test of working together, as Yoruichi and Sasuke would start flexing the bells, as Naruto would then kind of start laughing in a carefree tone, before pretty much Kakashi would then sigh before telling them that they passed, as he would tell them to untie them, as Naruto and the rest of Team 7, they would walk off, with Naruto and Yoruichi heading back to their home, and Sasuke heading to his Uchiha estate. Now, Kakashi would then have a comical moment of saying, yo, just let me out, please. No, I'm just kidding. It would have been like how Naruto was begging everyone to let him out of the tree, like he was tied to the tree and all. It was a cool comedic relief, comical relief, let's say that. As pretty much what would happen is Naruto and Yoruichi would rest for the night before the next day. Obviously this would start the time skip of them doing D-rank missions, and Naruto wouldn't really complain about this. It is what it is. It was mission's a mission, right? So pretty much what would happen next is the person who would complain the most is Sasuke. It doesn't, Sasuke, obviously he has a little pride. I'm an Uchiha. I got the 3 Tomoe Sharingan. I'm the strongest Uchiha in the village. Technically, of course, as he would say, hey, come on, we need a better mission. I'm not trying to save the same cat over and over. Come on, old man, just you're doing me dirty. As pretty much Hiruzen would see like Sasuke kind of pretty much like crying, not actually crying, but it would have been in the funny manner, as pretty much Hiruzen would start chuckling before saying, all right, I'll give you guys a C rank mission. But I suspect it's way higher. But I'll give it to you either way. As he would hand the scroll to Kakashi, Kakashi would start reading the mission out loud, saying, oh, so we're just escorting a bridge builder to the land of the waves. That seems pretty easy. As pretty much what happened is Naruto would have done research on all of the ninja, like the lands in the world. As he would have remember doing research on the land of the waves, as it was colonized by Gatsu's industry, and pretty much what would happen is all the supplies coming from the Mist Village would be going to Gatsu and not the people of the village. So yeah, pretty much Naruto would say this is definitely not a C rank mission. It's probably possibly an S rank mission if we actually see any S rank rogues, since he heard of Gatsu's reputation of hiring gang members or mob. Obviously, this can include S rank ninjas. So obviously, he would go through the bingo book after like the whole mission, like the debriefing mission, as they would pack up and head out. But a little bit before that, Naruto would be doing research about the land and who they might meet. So he would go through the bingo book about people who were in that specific area, as he would see people like Zabuza, the demon brothers of the mist, Haku, and possibly Kisame Hoshigaki, since he didn't actually know that he joined the Akatsuki, so he assumed he might be in the area. Obviously this was false, but pretty much what would happen is Naruto and the rest of Team 7, they would leave the Leaf Village, as Yoruichi would transform into her cat form and then just walk around. Kind of the reason why is because she's leaving the village, and think about it, what are they gonna, why would they be scared of a cat? It'd be more, they would obviously attack more because the increase in their ego and confidence of thinking they're gonna win. So pretty much what would happen is they would probably walk for the next 2 hours, and they would be kind of bored as well. It would have been silent, but Naruto would start up a conversation. They would start talking and all about their childhood, as Yoruichi would go first, saying that she was born in the Cloud Village in a clan called the Shihon clan. She was brought up to be the next heir, as pretty much what would happen is she wasn't really the type of girl to be all noble and all. Pretty much after she would explain her backstory and all of how she became a mercenary and was pretty much bought out by Naruto, Kakashi would then be like, that seems like the perfect scenario in the book for the Makeout series, as Yoruichi would smack him over the head, telling him that's not the point. Since like she was kind of telling her story to like guess reach out a lesson. But then Sasuke would go over his story as about how his father seemed to cater towards his older brother more, and how his older brother seemed too busy to train him, so he didn't really, I guess he wasn't really as developed in a sense. He always relied on his brother and all, before his brother killed all of his clansmen and pretty much put him in a Tsukiyomi Genjutsu for 72 hours, or what felt like days. Obviously he didn't actually know the exact amounts, but it would have been 72 hours. So Naruto would say, well, I was always the prodigy in the group, as even when I was as young as 2 or 4, I was always learning and getting stronger before I met 2 people when I was about 6 years old. These being, obviously, I'm going to say this right here, Sasuke didn't actually say his brother's name, he just said his brother. So obviously if you just met Sasuke, you wouldn't know, oh, it was just Itachi. No. So yeah, there's no confusion at all. So Naruto would be going on about how he met 2 people that changed his life. He met Itachi Uchiha, and he said Shisui Uchiha, then Itachi Uchiha, as he pretty much started to explain how he did missions with them as far as S-rank missions. And Itachi always talked about his little brother and how he pretty much loved him so much as a brother and wish he could spend more time with him. Obviously Naruto kind of doing this to reach out to Sasuke, but it would have looked like he didn't actually if he wasn't doing it. It was just explaining his backstory, and he would explain how Shisui always wanted a brother, as you know, Shisui always saw like Naruto as his little brother, since he was really older than Naruto. I think Shisui is about like 17 and Naruto was like 8, so like he was really older than Naruto. So pretty much Sasuke would kind of realize what like happened, since Naruto was there to experience it, and he realized, he would start questioning himself. Is revenge really like necessary and all? But he would then be knocked out of his thoughts before they would then reach the land of a wave. Now what would happen is they would pass a puddle, as Naruto would look over as a side glance, as he would see that this puddle is sort of like a genjutsu, as he would see that especially the weather would start to correlate or corroborate with that claim he made in his head with it's sunny out, so there should be no puddles, or else like the water would evaporate, and it hasn't rained in days. As Naruto would then say, you can come out now, I sense you. As what would happen is the demon brothers of the mist would come out, as Naruto would then start laughing a little bit before turning into a serious look, as he would unsheath his blade, cutting the chain, as then he would grab the end of the chains before then bringing them towards him, as he would then free his other hand before slicing down, before doing the other to the slicing down the other brother, as pretty much they would have kind of done the same thing that Aizen did to Rose. Love. So pretty much what happened is Aizen grabbed Rose's chain type Zanpakuto, or the whip. I don't really know how to describe it, but he wrapped up Love in it, and before then grabbing it towards him, before then slicing down Love. And then that's kind of like the same thing. So pretty much what happened is they would defeat the ninjas. Kakashi would say, I wouldn't suggest, it was kind of unsafe to kill them, because how are you going to get information from them if they're dead? As Naruto would say, oh, don't worry. As he would walk up to them before putting two of his fingers to the head, before then using a memory finding Kido in a sense, similar to that of the Kido that knocks you out. It kind of goes in your memories and looks at them and sees everything. So Naruto then see a conversation between the demon brothers and Zabuza, where pretty much Zabuza paid them off to basically intersect and take down the bridge builder. Obviously this wouldn't work, but pretty much Naruto would say, so we'll be seeing Zabuza, Momochi, and Haku. This will actually be quite interesting. 2 S-rank ninjas, just as I predicted. As Kakashi would say, what? He would be like shocked and all for asking Tazen the point of the mission. As Naruto would just answer for him. His village has been, or his land had been colonized by Gato Industries for years. From all the resources they received from the Land of Fire and the Mist Village, they seem to all be going to Gato and not the people of the village who deserved it more. So pretty much what would happen is Gato would be like, yeah, that's what happened. And pretty much he would start to explain to them that without the help from the used guys, I can't really get the village free. So I know you guys, I know this isn't really any of your business now, but please, can you please liberate the land of the waves? As pretty much Team 7 would all agree, not really having any disagreement to actually go back to the Leaf, as they would continue with the mission. Now what would happen is once they would get to the land of the waves via boat, they would be walking into the village, and they would then like a huge blade would come through the clearing, as pretty much it would start to get foggy and mist would start to roll in. Obviously Naruto knowing this was caused by a chakra technique. So the blade would come at them, as Naruto would just dodge with the rest of his team, as he would then pretty much deflect the blade away from the team, as it would lodge itself into a tree. Now Zabuza would land above the tree saying, that's good strength. This sword is about a few kilos, so like a few thousand pounds. So I'm kind of surprised how you pretty much moved it with such ease. As pretty much Naruto would say, yeah, I'm surprised myself, Zabuza Momochi. As the fog would clear up, just showing his face, as he would say, interesting, you know me, kid. As he would start to look at Naruto clearly, seeing the outfit, as he would say, oh my god, Naruto Uzumaki. As pretty much what would happen is he would say, oh, don't give me that serious look, I'm only a candy shop owner. As Zabuza would say, it's an honor being able to fight you, a double S-rank ninja in the bingo book, being able to thwart off the Mist Village invasion of the Leaf. I admire you very much. As he would get his sword ready, getting to fight Naruto, as Naruto would say, I'll deal with this. As Naruto and Zabuza would start fighting, clashing swords, as this wouldn't have been just clashing of swords, but clashing of ideals. Zabuza would have the ideal of just pretty much just doing missions and being a mercenary just for money, just to get by. Naruto was that person who had everything and had the freedom to do whatever he wants. So it's kind of like the bottom dog to like the rich man, I guess you could say. It's kind of hard to explain this battle, this dynamic here. But pretty much it would start clashing sword to sword, as they would not just see swords clashing, but they would see auras clashing. Zabuza's grayish, whitish aura with Naruto's red aura. As Naruto would start to dominate Zabuza's aura in a sense, I don't know how to describe it, as he would start outputting his Ryatsu, putting more power into his sword, before Zabuza would start to keep up a little bit, before then saying, release your power, I want to see it. As Naruto would say, as you wish. As he would say, awaken, Benihime. As he would awaken his Zanpakuto, kind of releasing it into a Shikai form before then slicing down. A huge beam of red light, similar to that of Getsuga, would come out as it would go right for Zabuza. Zabuza would then say ninja art, water style, water wall, as he would slam his hands on the floor before a huge wall of water. Several layers of water would appear as it would start to try to block the technique. Now they would just slice right through the water as the water would start to evaporate on contact, as Zabuza would then be sliced through the chest, as he would then fall over as Naruto would walk over to him saying, "You put up quite a good fight. I had a little bit of enjoyment fighting you." For then he would then raise his sword before then slicing down, saying, "Unfortunately, you just weren't strong enough," as he would kind of put on a solemn look before he would kill Zabuza. Now, Haku being in the distance, Naruto obviously sensing him, but he knows Yoruichi can deal with this. After wondering, what do you mean Yoruichi? Where's Yoruichi? As pretty much what happens, Yoruichi would appear behind Haku before saying, "Your time of life is over," before then grabbing her head, infusing it with Shunko before then ripping it off, similar to Gojo, how he did it with Jogo. So that would have been the end of Zabuza and Haku, as Naruto would have helped build the bridge with his inventions. He would have made multiple clones of himself with the portable gi guy, as they would have helped build the bridge with Sasuke and Yoruichi making a few shadow clones. So did Kakashi, as Kakashi and Yoruichi knowing Earth style and Sasuke using the Sharingan to copy it, this pretty much would go pretty well. Obviously, if you guys don't know, Yoruichi would know all the elements, and obviously knowing Kido, you can create anything you want, and Naruto would use that as well. So they would build the bridge in less than a day, as once they would build the bridge, Gato would then be seen with his thousands of mercenaries and mob members walking down on the other side of the bridge, as Naruto, Sasuke, Yoruichi, and Kakashi then be seen there getting ready to fight. As pretty much what happened is all the villagers, like Inari would go through all the villagers, as honestly, I guess Inari would just sense the presence of Naruto, and he knows that they can finally liberate their village. So Inari would get over his pessimistic beliefs before then going through all of the land, telling everyone that our saviors are here to liberate the land. And pretty much every villager would grab their pitchforks and stuff, and they would gather on going against Gato, as Gato would see all the people had finally gained enough courage to go against him, as Naruto would walk through the soldiers and mob members and mercenaries, as he would start slicing and cutting them down with no mercy whatsoever, as Naruto then jump off randomly, as a huge fireball would then come, where Naruto was. It would start to burn and burn some of the members to crisp, like 10 degrees burns, as Yoruichi would come down using her Shunko before then punching people's heads off, just lobbing their heads off with no hesitation, as pretty much this would have been like a bloody massacre, as pretty much what would happen is they would walk up to Gato before then slicing him down. Now after this event, Naruto would then take all of Gato's riches and give most of it to the people, and he would have given all of it, but for some reason they wanted Naruto to keep some of it. He had saved them, he had given them the courage to basically go against Gato, as they would be very grateful towards him. As Naruto would then be like, "Oh, thanks," as that'll be the end of the Land of the Waves arc. So pretty much after the Land of the Waves arc, Team 7 would head back to the Leaf Village, recuperating for the rest of the afternoon. We'll time skip to the evening of just the evening of that day. So pretty much Naruto and Yoruichi would be in their shop, or Naruto's shop, as they would have been drinking sake in a sense, if you know what I mean, as they would pretty much start telling their tales of what they went through over the years of their, ninja rolling, but their ninja journey in a sense. Their journey of being a ninja, I guess you could say. But pretty much what happened is, obviously, Naruto and Yoruichi would get a little, intoxicated in a sense. But pretty much they would stop talking, as all of a sudden they would stare at each other for a few seconds before then, for some reason, Naruto would get this urge to just, I don't know, plant his lips on her. Obviously, Yoruichi would feel the same, as what would happen is, for a few seconds, they would be staring at each other before they would, obviously, I'm not even, you already know what's gonna happen. I get it, it's so embarrassed doing this shit, like, I don't know why. But pretty much this would mark the start of Naruto and Yoruichi's relationship in a sense, and they were serious about it. Obviously, in an actual canonical timeline, I guess you can say Yoruichi and Urahara, they, like, come on, there's no way. Like, they were actually a couple, like, there's no way. Now, it wasn't actually stated, but, it's obvious. But pretty much, as they would be, kissing, the scene would end since, the scene would cut out, as we would do a time skip for about 2 weeks. Now, in these 2 weeks, pretty much Naruto and the rest of Team 7 would be training, as about a week into that, Kakashi would tell them about the Chunin exams that's coming up. And obviously, Naruto and Yoruichi, they were quite calm, but Sasuke was a little bit nervous since they weren't told of this, so they couldn't prepare. But Naruto would tell Sasuke to meet him later this evening at his shop so they can get in some training. As pretty much Sasuke would be like, all right, I'm down. As pretty much what would happen is Sasuke would head over to the shop, as pretty much what would happen is they would go in the hyperbolic time machine to start training. So like I said, 1 hour outside in the real world is 6 hours inside there. So they're gonna spend the whole week in the hyperbolic time machine. Now, in 1 week, there is, just do 24 times 7. I'm actually gonna do this in the calculator. I think it's about 140. It's 162. Now, 162 times 6. That is 1,000 hours. Now we do 1,000 hours divided by 24. We get 42 days. They spent a whole month and a half, around a month and a half in the hyperbolic time machine. And let's just say they pretty much got the training that they needed. And I'll be going over that. So Naruto would train Sasuke in elemental manipulation. He would learn his lightning style, with Yoruichi giving him tips and tricks and all, as Sasuke would be learning something quite interesting. He would learn how to make a bow out of lightning, he would learn how to do the Chidori, and he would learn how to infuse lightning all around his body. Like, he would kind of be like, he would use like bows like Quincy's do, and it would be really cool to see Sasuke. He's the type, he has the characteristics to do that, to do like bows and all. So that's kind of what I wanted to incorporate here. But pretty much after the 1 month of training, by the way, Naruto would also go through his own training. He would use the doll to basically try to, the doll of, to stab his Zanpakuto, and Benihime would form, as pretty much what would happen is they would, he would attain his Bankai. Obviously, he didn't have time throughout his childhood to learn his Bankai, since he had his time pretty much with Yoruichi or pretty much doing his business, so he didn't, like, his shop business. So he didn't really have time to actually learn his Bankai, but now he did. Now, after he would learn his Bankai, he would start advancing other Kido, like the Kido of Ichibei, like Hidden Hado number 3, Tapetsu, Hado number 99, Goryo Tenmetsu, or Hado number 90, Kudo Hitsuki. Even though he already knew these Kidos from memories, he just wanted to master them, make sure they're ingrained in his soul properly this time. As him and Yoruichi's relationship would continuously advance, as before the time skip, obviously, I'm not even gonna say it, but basically what would happen is Naruto would be developing something. Let's just say that, okay? So pretty much what would happen is after the training arc, Sasuke would be tremendously stronger, probably even stronger than his Shippuden form. With the lightning manipulation he can use by making bows and arrow with lightning, or using the Chidori. Sooner or later, in the 1 month between the third stage of the Chunin exams and the finale, he'll be able to learn other techniques like Kirin. Alright, that's just a hint there. But pretty much, we'll time skip to the day of the Chunin exams. Team 7 would, obviously Sasuke would be in the shop since he had been training for the whole, the week, or the 2 weeks they had. As he would wake up, as he would go over to Naruto's room, or Naruto in Yorichi's room technically, as he would wake them up before they would get up and they would head out for the Chunin exams. Now, what would happen is once they would get there, they would get that little pep talk by Kakashi as Naruto would go in. As Kakashi would say, Naruto would tell Kakashi to pretty much bet as much money as he can on them because they were gonna win and he was gonna be boatload rich. As Kakashi would then pretty much get all of his life savings, he was gonna bet on Team 7. Oh, yeah, obviously he's gonna be betting around $6 million. Like, let's just say Kakashi's quite rich when it comes to being a ninja and all. He was literally in the Anbu for years. He's done a lot of S-rank ninja, so for him to have that much money, that's definitely doable. As, let's just say he has that rich mindset. I'm just kidding. But pretty much Team 7, they would walk in as they would see the whole genjutsu with the 2 gate guards stopping people from going up the stairs, and the genjutsu on the doors of misleading people, saying the wrong room number. So they would just, Naruto would then just grab both of his teammates' shoulders and shunpo behind the guards as they would walk up the stairs while the guards are distracted by other people wanting to get past. So they would get up the stairs and they would go inside the exam room, obviously seeing past the genjutsu, obviously pretty much, so why did I say obviously twice? They would get past the genjutsu as instead of walking into some facility room or like faculty room, they walked into the exams room. Now once they would walk in, this time Naruto won't be like, hey guys, fuck you, or something like that. No, he's gonna be quite calm about it as he would go in and pretty much they would start the exams. Now after like doing the exams and all, pretty much what would happen is Naruto would be placed next to Hinata, as he would see Hinata being nervous as Ibiki would announce that there's the last question, but if they do leave, then they have the chance of coming back next year. And he would see Hinata going to get up, but Naruto would use his spiritual pressure, not his spiritual pressure, but like stop her from getting up, as he would tell her that she's gonna pass. Obviously Hinata would think this is just some confident booster, but he was right. There was no 10th question, and yeah, that's what Ibiki will be going over in a few seconds. So after Ibiki would announce that there was no question and that everyone passes, Hinata would look towards Naruto as he would say, oh, so that's what you meant? As Naruto would say, yeah. As pretty much she would thank Naruto before Naruto would go reunite with Team 7. Pretty much they would all kind of do like a group handshake, I guess. I don't know what to say. As they would then hear the window being broken by Anko as she would come through, just finishing her last piece of dango, as Ibiki was waiting impatiently for Anko to come down, but she would eventually come down. Now once she would start to tell everyone to go over to training ground 44, I believe it's called, and once they would get to training ground 44, they would start to she would start to explain what the second part of the Chunin exams, the Forest of Death, and what's gonna concur in this event. So pretty much she would start handing out all the forms, as Naruto would be seen just not paying attention. Once he was handed the form and signed it, he was just looking around at the beauty of the forest, as some people would be horrified by the forest, but Naruto, he saw something interesting in the forest, something that nobody else saw. I guess they say one man's trash is another man's treasure. I think that's the quote. But pretty much what would happen next is Anko would throw the kunai at Naruto, but something weird would happen. Naruto would then use a Bakugo number 81 Danku with all of his Ryatsu just to flex. Obviously, Urahara is not the one to flex. He would use as minimum power as he can, but Naruto, seeing that Anko's quite the cocky one and she's sadistic in nature, he would want to put her in her place. Obviously, that sounded really sus, but pretty much a barrier would form between the kunai and Naruto, as the kunai would just hit the barrier and just turn to dust. The barrier was so strong that it turned the kunai into dust. As Naruto would say, oh, I wonder what that was. Probably just a breeze. As he would continue to look at the forest, as Anko would kind of get a little irritated before she would just put it off, as she would then tell everyone to go after handing out all the scrolls, with Team 7 getting the Heaven Scroll. So Team 7 would be running around in the forest, going near the middle, trying to find other teams who have gotten the other scrolls to pick them off easily. until they would run across a certain female grass ninja that they met at the entrance. Now this would obviously be Orochimaru. So they would start looking at Orochimaru for a few seconds until Naruto would feel this he would feel his spidey senses tingling. I'm just kidding, this isn't, never mind. But he would feel his senses, his sixth sense like going off as he would look behind him, as he would see this huge snake coming for him, as he would be like, oh my fucking god, what the fuck is that? As then he would then unsheath his sword, as he would swing down, as a huge red beam of light would come out of his blade, slicing the snake in half. But right before he actually did any crucial damage, the snake just dispersed into smoke, as Sasuke would be like, summoning jutsu. As he would start to aim his bow and arrow with his lightning, he can make a bow and arrow out of lightning, as he would aim it towards Orochimaru, going to pick off his head, thinking it's easy pickings, it was just a grass ninja fodder. As he would then aim the bow with 3 arrows going at him, as he would shoot it, as he would add a little fire effect on the tip of it, before this would barely miss Orochimaru. Now this wouldn't just barely miss Orochimaru. Orochimaru would dodge it with ease, making it look like it barely missed him. It's kind of hard to explain it, but pretty much Sasuke would just think that this was a fluke, as he would then, pretty much use the Chidori before then appearing behind Orochimaru, trying to swing at him, as there'd be a huge explosion behind that Chidori, as Orochimaru would be just dodge out of it with no difficulty. Now Sasuke would be shocked. How did this grass ninja lady just dodge every attack he had? Naruto would then suddenly get a serious look, as he would appear in front of Orochimaru, or the grass ninja lady, before then tapping her back, before then saying, Bakuno number 61, Rikujo Koro. As 6 bars of light would slam into her. That sounded sus as well. It slammed into her mid-side, keeping her in place. Before then, Naruto would say, you can go for the attack, Sasuke. He's definitely in place, like stuck in place. As once Sasuke would infuse lightning into his sword, or just his katana he got recently, he would have went over to slice Orochimaru in half. Something weird would happen. The lady would start spinning her body out of her mouth like another body, as Naruto would say, what? How is that even possible? Before then, he would then use Bakugo number 99, part 1 Kin, to use like summon black ropes to wrap around her and to keep her in place, as there'd be seals that slam onto the ground, keeping her more in place. As going from Bakugo number 61 to 99 is actually a huge difference. As Sasuke would then, Orochimaru would be on his knees, as Sasuke would walk up to Orochimaru before then, holding the sword above his head, before then slicing Orochimaru in half. Now, once this would happen, Orochimaru on contact would just turn into snakes. He had substituted as soon as he got put into that restraining jutsu, whatever it was. He's never actually heard of this jutsu, but he was very interested in it. But basically, what would happen next is Naruto would walk up to the pouch that was missing, where all the snakes were crawling away from the substitution jutsu, as he would, bend down, as that would have been the scroll that they needed. They had the heaven scroll and they needed the earth scroll, as they would pretty much, Naruto would pick up the scroll, putting it into his pouch, before they would then pretty much head towards the tower. They would not run into Team Dosu, and due to Naruto's advanced speeds and Yoruichi's speeds of flash step, they could make it there with no difficulty of running into Dosu, I forgot the other the girl's name, Kin, and Zaku or Zaku, I think. And so they didn't run into them, and they would just head towards the tower. Now, once they would head towards the tower, they would just recuperate, and for like the night, I guess you could say, or the day, it was like near the evening, so they would eat dinner and then pretty much just recuperate for the night. Now, what would occur next is I guess in the 5 days, they would just be chilling with Naruto, just spending quality time with his, I guess, brother in a sense. Sasuke was like a brother to him at this point. He had spent a lot of time training with him, as he had seen him as his brother. Like I said, Itachi had trusted Itachi had trusted Sasuke to Naruto, so Naruto had to see him as his brother. He always saw Itachi and Shisui as his older brothers, so now he had to do the same to Sasuke, as he was trying to show that brotherly love that Itachi couldn't really show since he was always busy. So also his love for like Yoruichi and all, I guess. I didn't really have to mention that, but I just wanted to, I guess. I don't know why. I'm weird, okay? Okay. But pretty much after the whole 5 days of recuperating and everyone else coming in, Team 7 would be seen as the first team that came in. They came in under an hour. That was like a record at that point. Only pretty much the 4th Hokage came in that fast because he had the flying Raijin and all. So pretty much we'll be going over the preliminary parts of the Chunin exams. So the same placements would be exactly the same. Naruto versus Kiba, Sasuke versus Yoroi, and this time it would be Yoruichi versus Ino. Obviously, this is going to be completely different, obviously. So Sasuke, this time not receiving the curse mark from Orochimaru, as Orochimaru was like easy target practice for Sasuke's bows and arrows. That kind of sounded, bow and arrow, I probably should have said that, that sounded a little weird. But pretty much what would happen next is we'll go over with the Naruto versus Kiba, Sasuke versus Yoroi, then Yoruichi versus Ino. So Naruto would be waiting there with his cane, just standing there, as pretty much Kiba would jump down. He would be all arrogant and shit, obviously doing what Ichigo did in the training arc, about saying that his sword is that sword even like real, as Naruto would just unsheath the sword saying, I think I remember someone doing that, as he would have remembered a memory when he was his past life, like as Urahara, was helping Ichigo become stronger to save Rukia, as he remembered that Ichigo didn't really comprehend the fact that other people had Zanpakutos, so, or at least Urahara did. So Urahara would then say, that's gonna be your last mistake, basically saying, like, after this, you're pretty much, it's like a death threat in a sense. So Naruto would flash step as he would appear behind Kiba, as Kiba would be like, what? How did he just appear behind me? Before Naruto would slam the Suba of his sword on the back of Neji's neck. Now after this, Neji would then, like, I guess it was like it wasn't actually a serious attack. It was just showing Kiba that he could get behind him. So he would then pretty much appear behind, like, in front of Kiba, as he would then pretty much hit the Adam's apple. Obviously, if you get punched in that, you're gonna be like, oh, that sounded weird. I shouldn't have done. Nah. Okay, it'll sound like you're giving gak, but you're not actually doing it. Okay, just don't make. I'm never doing that again. Okay, but pretty much what would happen is, like, he would get slammed in the Adam's apple, as he would start choking, because if you get like punched in your voice box, you can't talk. It's like one of the most painful feelings you can ever feel. As what would happen next is Kiba would then fall over, start coughing up blood. At that point, Naruto would say, oops, I actually didn't mean to hit you that hard, that's on me, forgive me. As he would then use the Hokyoku on Kiba, or like some high-speed regenerative invention he made, as what would happen is Kiba would start to heal, as pretty much he would then forfeit. If you're wondering why would he forfeit, the Inazukas have one like massive pride, they would never forfeit. Obviously Naruto just proved that he could make someone forfeit. But pretty much what would happen next is the next fight, Sasuke versus Yoroi. Sasuke would jump down, as Yoroi would, obviously being from the Hidden Leaf Village, but was a spy for Kabuto, as he would start to put chakra into his hands, as his technique of like absorbing chakra would show, as Sasuke would be like, you're easy target practice, before he would then aim the bow at them, as he would then have 3 of his fingers pop out at the end for the 3 arrows, as once the proctor said start, Sasuke would then pretty much shoot the arrows. One of the arrows on the left would hit the left of the top part of his shirt, while the second would hit the middle part of his chest, electrocuting him. But then the other arrow would hit him towards the right, as this would pretty much trap him to the wall, as the arrows would keep him in place, as Sasuke would walk up to him, before then he would repeatedly start punching his gut, repeatedly, like 10 times over, on each hand. Like, Sasuke was not messing around. He would start pretty much just, that sounded, I was about to say something that was just weird. I was gonna say it would start blowing out Sasuke's stomach, but that's kind of sus. But pretty much what would happen next is he would knock out Yoroi from how much he's punching him, and that would be the end of it. Yoroi would be knocked out, as that's the end of the fight. Sasuke would be pronounced the winner, as we'll be going over a certain fight. Neji versus Hinata. Now, Naruto is spectating the fight as he's wondering how would one Byakuya fight another, and he's wondering this isn't a battle of just, hands, like hands to hand. It's the battle of Byakuya versus Byakugan and Byakugan. I said Byakuya. God help me. Man, I have too much bleach in my system. As pretty much what happened, it would be Byakugan versus Byakugan, as they would be clashing hand to hand. And Naruto would see that Hinata's on the losing side. Hinata hasn't reached her full potential, so all these attacks aren't really, her attacks right now aren't really at their fullest, while Neji is just stronger than her, unfortunately, for now at least. As what would happen is Hinata would lose, as Neji would go for the killing blow, as Naruto would just appear from in front of him with his sword, like in front of him, literally, as he would aim his sword at his Adam's apple, the neck area, before he would then say, congratulations, Neji, you won the fight. As he would say, I wouldn't suggest, killing someone for personal vendettas. As just know that if I find out that you had a vendetta against Hinata, and let's say accidentally killed her, I would slaughter your whole clan with no hesitation whatsoever. As he would start to get that look, with that dead stare in his eyes, the one that has no hesitation whatsoever, that resolve he's showing is just unbelievable. So what would happen next is pretty much Neji would just shake, as he would then, like, the medics would start coming down, as Kakashi would then say, that's enough, Naruto, you already showed your point. As pretty much Naruto would start laughing, saying, oh, I got too serious, didn't I? I'm sorry, Neji, but I'm not sorry. As he would walk off, pretty much picking up Hinata's blood, as he would say, as he would just start spraying it on his sword, as Benihime is technically like a blood, it's like symbolic to blood. It's literally the Crimson Princess. Obviously blood is red when exposed to oxygen, so the blood would, the sword would vibrate. What Naruto basically did is he putting his blood on his sword, he pretty much made like a, how do I say this? Kind of like a threat in a sense, I guess, like a message to, Neji. Naruto's gonna put Hinata's blood, and that's gonna be the same sword that's gonna defeat him. Obviously, it's kind of hard to explain unless you like really get the symbolism of swordsmanship, but pretty much what would happen is he would walk off, as he would never clean that blade. He's not gonna clean that blade until after he slays, no, I'm just kidding, until after he cuts Neji with that blade, as he would then, kind of just start this blood vendetta now. As after the fight, the whole Gara versus Lee fight would go exactly the same, with Gara unfortunately breaking Neji's legs. Breaking Lee's legs. Oh my god. Forgive me if I'm butchering shit. But pretty much what would happen is after the fight, Naruto would then walk up to Lee, as he would then pretty much tell Lee to open his mouth, as Lee would kind of be a little suspicious, but he would open his mouth either way. As Naruto would then pop in a pill, as pretty much what would happen is Naruto would give Lee a pill of hydrogen. No, I'm just kidding. No, I was just kidding. No drugs. But pretty much he would pop him a pill, which this would, I guess, raise the high-speed regenerative of his body, high-speed factor of his body, as he would then look towards his legs before using the Hokyokyu on it, as he would then desire that Lee's legs would be fixed, as that's exactly what happened. I guess a blinding light would occur, as everyone in the ring would look away before, as the light would disappear, they would see Lee's legs perfectly fine, as he would stood up, as he would say, I feel the power of youth brewing in my body, ready to be released. I can't actually do the same tone that Meister does with Lee. I just can't. I can't do that. But pretty much what would happen is, Lee would then get on his knees and thank Naruto for helping his, recuperate his legs, as Naruto would then say, that's no problem whatsoever. As what would happen next is that would end the arc, the second part of the Chunin exams, and we'll be going over the whole 1 month training arc. So pretty much what would happen from there is Naruto, Yoruichi, and Sasuke, they would go into the hyperbolic time machine. I'm gonna have to do the math for that one. Okay, so I did the calculations for pretty much 1 month, and that was about 42 days. Now if I multiply that by 4, that is about 40 times 4. My god, that's about 168 days. So that's about, I think that's 4 months, 5 months, it's around 5 months and a half. So Naruto, Yoruichi, and Sasuke, they would switch from eating, resting, and training for the next 5 months and a half. As what happened is they would grow extremely taller, about 2 to 3 inches taller, due to all their time in a hyperbolic time machine, and this would make Naruto's hair just longer. Now in this time, Naruto would go through his process of imbuing the Hokyoku inside himself. He had seen Aizen do the same thing in his past life, and he was wondering, maybe I should do the same. Maybe something different would happen. I wouldn't be as egotistical as Aizen, as I have someone I love the most, and I have a brother, multiple, I guess, as I see as brothers, as I won't be the same as Aizen. As he would infuse the Hokyoku within himself, obviously he would start to go through the changes, like going into his angelic, like going through the shell, like the chrysalis form, like a butterfly. As then he would then go into his actual butterfly form, and obviously he can get out of it and just go back into his normal form. Then he would have like that, like literally he would kind of have like the butterfly form, but more evolved in a sense, until like he would just stop, like he would stop evolving from there, because he doesn't want to turn into the monster form, and he wants, let's just say something's good gonna happen. Okay, go. All right, just wait for it. So pretty much after Naruto would spend the next 6 months training with Sasuke and Yoruichi would start to learn more of Kido and more of her Hakuda, since Hakuda and Kido is what makes her Shinko. She has to get good at Kido and Hakuda. Sasuke would get really good at swordsmanship, learning more lightning-based techniques, learning how to infuse lightning to his sword, as he would learn the curing technique with no difficulty. It took him about, in canon it took like 3 years, but it's not actually shown exactly. Maybe it's like 1 year or something. So like I think that's definitely reasonable for Sasuke to learn in that time frame with the help of Yoruichi, who is basically uses lightning in almost every one of her attacks. As soon, maybe Sasuke would learn a pseudo form of the Shinko, but we'll see. As after the whole time skip, something weird would happen on the stage. Naruto, Yoruichi, and Sasuke, they would appear in a puff of smoke, but they look completely different. Naruto had really long, not really long, but neck length blonde hair, which she usually had short hair, like I guess like around, it's just like they saw the abnormal growth rate. And Yoruichi and the rest, like Sasuke and Naruto, they were taller and they had more muscle on them, obviously due to a hyperbolic time machine, but basically they were really suspicious of this massive growth. Obviously they didn't really say anything, but they were like, what the hell kind of training did Naruto do? But pretty much after that, the proctor would start the match, as pretty much this would be Naruto versus Neji. Naruto would unsheath his blade, as he was ready for this. He wanted to get revenge for Hinata. Not that he loved Hinata, he already had a lover, which was Yoruichi. But the thing is, he just wanted to get revenge. He just had this pulsing desire to cut down Neji, which was weird. He actually didn't understand this. This was the only emotion he actually ever experienced that he couldn't comprehend. The feeling of wanting to hurt someone else, or close your fist and hit someone just because of a past experience. It was something he could never understand. Obviously, sooner or later he would learn about the cycle of hatred and all, but pretty much Naruto would get into a fight with Neji. On the bat, he would then try to use his 64 palms, all like the zone technique, as Naruto would say, I'm in your zone, right? So that means you can shut down all of my chakra networks. Yeah, that may be, he would then continue saying, but that's only if you hit me. As what would happen is Neji would try to use his technique, and it would actually work. He would start hitting Naruto and closing all of his chakra techniques. Not chakra techniques. Technically, you're doing that. You're closing all of your chakra networks, or sealing them, as Naruto would then be seen after the hits, as everyone's expecting him to fall down, since he had just got hit by the classic Jugen stance. As Naruto would say, normally I would be falling over from the fact that I have no chakra left. But there's one thing you fail to take into account. If one man should have more chakra than the other, then that man's technique or that man's defense is higher than the others. No matter what technique you use, no matter what punch you throw, no matter what sword swing you use, that technique will never reach him due to the amount of chakra that other man has over him. I don't know why it's using that same tone, but basically what Naruto's saying is due to me having more spiritual pressure than you, that technique will never reach me. She's basically saying, hey Neji, I'm a transcendent being. Your attack doesn't work on me. As pretty much Neji would be like, that's impossible. You have more chakra than me. As pretty much what would happen is Naruto would start outputting his Ryatsu, as there'd be a red aura that would surround him, as Naruto would say, I wish I could kill you, you know that? I despise people like you. People who think everything is based on fate. People who think you can't control your own fate. I used to be like that, you know? I used to think that that's just how the world was, or something like that, and we should just accept it. Obviously, I learned from a certain someone or a certain enemy I fought and I despised for a long time that's just not how the world is. A victor should be able to change what the world is, not always accept how the world already is. As he would finish his statement, as a huge gash of blood, or like a slash, would appear on Neji's chest, as Naruto would say, this conversation was just me, I guess, delaying the inevitable. As he would walk off the arena with Neji just falling down bloodied, we would then walk over to Hinata, giving her her sword and giving her a cloth, as he would ask her to clean his sword. He had put her blood on his sword and pretty much stained Neji's blood on his sword, as he would ask her to cleanse it. Obviously, this would be more symbolic in a sense, as Hinata would become red in the face before then just cleanse, like accepting the blade and cloth. As for some reason it didn't even injure her. Yet, she had accidentally hit the sharp part, but it didn't even injure her. Obviously, the part, like the blade, becomes dull if you don't have the intent to kill, in a sense. And she would start wiping the blade before then handing it back to Naruto, as Naruto would say, I truly apologize for Neji's behavior. I hope you can help him through what really happened in his past. As he would then bow down with his bucket hat before walking away, as Hinata would just pass out. Obviously, we all know why. But basically, Naruto would head back to the stands next to Yoruichi and Sasuke, as that, pretty much what would happen is, Sasuke would go in for a handshake, as Naruto, he accept that dab up, come on, bro, it's the homie. As pretty much the next fight, we'll be going over the next fights. It would be Shikamaru versus Tamari. That would go exactly the same. Yoruichi versus Dosu. I'm actually gonna have Dosu live in this one. So what's gonna happen is Yoruichi would jump down, as Dosu would, come down, as he would get his gauntlets ready to release his sound waves, as Yoruichi would be ready, kind of cracking her knuckles and all. As once the proctor would say, fight, or hajime, as immediately Dosu would try to use his sound waves on Yoruichi, but Yoruichi would go into her Shunko, as the aura of Shunko would defend her from the sound waves, in a sense. As she would then flash up behind Dosu before then throwing a punch, as Dosu would then try to use a Earth-style mud wall. Obviously, I actually don't know Dosu's affinities, but he should be able to know Earth-style. At least some basic elements, or a basic jutsu like that. You can actually learn an Earth-style jutsu if you actually, don't have that element in your primary, if I can say. It's kind of like Kakashi. He's not an Earth style. He doesn't actually have Earth as his main element, but he can still do Earth jutsus. So the wall will then appear between the punch and Dosu, as Yoruichi doesn't care about this wall. She would just immediately punch through it, and this would hit Dosu in the chest, sending him flying into the wall. As once he would land in the wall, he would then get up, coughing up blood from that impact, as he would say, I see your technique now. It pretty much fuses your chakra and your hand-to-hand combat ability to basically punch someone, rupturing their internal organs, as he would continue to spit out blood as he would fall over. Yoruichi would then pretty much be pronounced the winner, as that would have been the end of that fight. Now the next fight would then pretty much be Sasuke versus Gara. Now Gara has been pretty much I guess, waiting for this fight. He had been so excited. He wanted to draw Sasuke's blood. Like, Broski was like horny. I'm just kidding. But basically, the fight would start as Sasuke would then unsheath his sword, as Gara would go to send his sand defenses, but Sasuke would disappear. So everyone would be like, where's Sasuke? As Sasuke would then appear behind Gara as a huge slash would appear over his chest. Obviously, Naruto would then look at that, as for a second, he would see himself. He had seen himself of how Sasuke acts like him, and how he was like that as a kid, due to everyone, I guess, not really being like him. If you guys don't understand, I'll explain. So obviously Naruto was extremely smart as a kid, and this separated him from everyone else. This kind of exiled him in a sense from how he felt from everyone else, especially on the Anbu missions. He was severely smarter than everyone else, and he felt bad about it. He felt like maybe if he he wished that he could be like everyone else, because then people wouldn't look at him in a admiring tone. He wished people could just understand him rather than constantly admire him, as he finally felt like maybe Aizen was right. As what happened is he would see, Sasuke slash down, Gara, as Gara would get up before going into his partially transformed state, using that high-speed regeneration. With the fact that his mental stability is really low, is two bad additions, I guess. Two things you should never just add. Okay, I shouldn't have gotten a tangent about that. But pretty much what happened is, after Gara would start partially transforming, the Konoha Crush would start. Naruto would then look over to Hiruzen's location, and he would look at Sasuke. Sasuke looked like he was about to he was chasing after Gara, and he felt doubtful. Is Gara gonna beat Sasuke? What do I do? As he would then suddenly get a headache from the decisions he has to make. He has to choose between Hiruzen, the person who he raised, who raised him pretty much for the first few years of his life. As he would see that he's fighting Orochimaru, he knows of Orochimaru's reanimation jutsu, and maybe he'll summon someone, and then Hiruzen's forced to use some healing technique that takes away his life, since obviously Urahara sees the future. Not actually, but he plans for it. As he would see that Hiruzen would be pressed using the Reaper Death Seal, but he would then see Sasuke losing to Gara. So he would then ultimately make the decision. He had been trusted to Sasuke by Itachi. He wasn't gonna betray his brother's promise. It wasn't actually his brother, but hey, the Google says he's his brother, right? Google's pretty smart, that. Come on, bro. Y'all downplaying Google. But pretty much what would happen next is Gara would be seen fighting as God, I just got interrupted by Jake. But pretty much what would happen is Naruto would head towards Sasuke's direction. He had been trusted, like I said, to Sasuke by Itachi, so he wasn't going to betray his brother's promise. As he would head over there, encountering Temari, Kankura, which Shino and Shikamaru would deal with, as him and him and Yoruichi would head over there. As once they would get there, they would see the partially transformed Gara slapping Sasuke into a wall before Sasuke would catch himself, before then I guess standing next to pretty much what would happen next is Gara would start to fight Naruto, Sasuke, and Yoruichi, and he would pretty much be outnumbered severely. So what would happen next is, Gara would start to throw a punch at Naruto. Naruto would make a Bakudo number 81, Danku, as a shield would appear between the attack, as Gara would then hit the attack, as the attack would start to disintegrate his arm. Obviously, if you don't know, I mean, it seems kind of obvious. If you hit Danku, then you'll start feeling the effects of it, as his arm would start to disintegrate, as Gara would then pretty much go into his full-tail beast form, as pretty much... Damn, bro, I swear. So, pretty much, I always get interrupted by Jake. I swear. It's so annoying. Oh my god. Okay, I'm gonna continue. So, Gara would start disintegrating, as he would start to turn into his full-tail beast form, as they would see a huge Shikaku form, as he would start talking out maniacally. Obviously, this would be Shikaku, not Gara anymore. As Naruto would then say, damn, I feel bad for Gara, because what I'm about to do, Rest in peace, Gara. I'm just kidding. Obviously, Naruto's not going to kill Gara, but Naruto would then tell Yoruichi to stay behind him. Obviously, Sasuke as well. As Naruto would then say, Bankai. As a huge doll would start to form behind him. This would be none other than, Benihime, as it would wrap her arms around, Naruto. As pretty much what happened is stitches would start to crawl above his eyes, as pretty much this would kind of make it so he can reconstruct anything in the distance. This included Shikaku. So what would happen is Naruto would then say, I'm gonna reconstruct you until you're little tiny Shikaku chibi. Alright? You ready? As he would still have his humor and all. So what happened is he would transform Shikaku into a chibi, like a small one, like not even an inch, like that's not doing anything to you. So what happened is Naruto would then, walk up to Shikaku as he would say, so how does it feel? Shikaku would be, waving his arms around, telling him to turn it back. I swear I'll kill you. As he would try to use his wind style jutsu. I said, oh, what's this breeze of wind I feel? So I thought it was kind of cloudy out. I don't remember it being windy. As before, he would then flick Shikaku. This doing putting Ryatsu into it. So this would turn Shikaku into just dust. As what would happen is Gaara's body would just randomly appear, and Naruto would then would be talking to God, I'm gonna slow down. Sasuke would then talk no jutsu Gara, telling him his experiences, since Naruto has no reason to actually tell Gara any of his experiences, since he doesn't actually feel for Gara. So Sasuke would be the one doing this, telling him he knows how he feels, since his whole clan was massacred, and he was the one outcasted by the village in a sense. Obviously not really, but he doesn't need to know that. But pretty much after the whole talk no jutsu, Naruto would make it over to Hiruzen, as he would see him doing the Reaper Death Seal, as he would say, no, don't do it. As you would be yelling out. Obviously, I don't want to yell out. That feels too emotional. No, I'm just kidding. I just can't do that. As pretty much what would happen is tears would fly out of his eyes, as he would see Hiruzen just drop dead. After this, Naruto would run up to Hiruzen, cradling his dead body, or his leaving body, as Hiruzen would say, Naruto, my boy. As he would cough out more blood, as he would say, seems the Shinigami will be taking my soul. It was good raising you. It's nice knowing that someone as smart as you can actually be born in this village. Please, Naruto, I hope one day you can become the Hokage. I know that's not really something you want, even though it would be a huge burden for you, but could you possibly do it? As Naruto would say, of course I would do it. I would never decline that offer. As after this, Hiruzen would hit the dust, as pretty much Naruto would start weeping, as he would just head back to his shop to, weep on his own. He was gonna grieve on his own, or at least at the most grieve with help of his friends, or his friends. He only has 2 friends, obviously not including Kakashi and possibly Jiraiya, but he hasn't really met Jiraiya that much, only a few times when he was a kid. But basically what would happen is Naruto would be grieving. Obviously Yoruichi would help him through it, since he literally just lost his, grandfather figure. So obviously Yoruichi would try his best to comfort him, but he would just be weeping there. And one day Naruto would then receive a knock at his shop, as Jiraiya would walk in. As Naruto would just stare at the wall. He still had tear stains on his under his eyes, on his face cheeks. As Jiraiya would say, oh, you're here. As Naruto would say, oh, Jiraiya, it's been a while since I've seen you. As he would say, how's the spy network? As he would start sniffing, just recovering from his last crying session. As Jiraiya would say, you shouldn't blame yourself. You chose to save Sasuke rather than save Hiruzen. Hiruzen was already old. Don't get mad, but Sasuke is the new generation. Hiruzen runs you protecting the new generation and guiding them throughout the world. And he admitted himself, Hiruzen admitted many times that he was an old man, and all his job was to guide the new generation, give them the will of fire, and hopefully his will of fire would pass on to many other people, similar to how his senseis Hashirama and Tobirama did. as Naruto would then look up, as his eyes would widen, realizing what the will of fire was. He had been told many times that what the will of fire was, but Naruto never truly felt it. But now, after death of Hiruzen, he had felt it. He had felt the fire coursing through his veins, as he had now truly realized what the obviously, I'm just kidding, but obviously he knows what the will of fire is now. I don't know why I like, for a few seconds my mind just blanked. I forgot what I was just talking about. So I just had to kind of just was just looking there. But pretty much after this, Jiraiya would say, well, I know you're technically still an Anbu, you still have that tattoo, so I was wondering if you wanted to come with me to get the new Hokage, possibly? As Naruto would say, oh, I'm down. I'll meet you tomorrow in the morning by the gates. I need some time to get ready. As Jiraiya would say, alright, just take your time. I miss him too, As Naruto would say, I know, you were his student. As pretty much Jiraiya would leave, as Naruto would just get up, as he'd realize he needs to do something productive. As he would open a shop for business, as, obviously, he would do the business, but pretty much we'll time skip to the next day. I just had nothing to stay there. As the next day, Naruto would get up, getting, his stuff in a scroll, as he would leave with Yoruichi and Sasuke, telling Sasuke, let's go. You need some experience outside the village. You only went on one mission outside the village, so obviously he's just getting some experience. So what would happen next is they'll head towards the I guess the town where the hotel is. So yeah, let's just get to that. So pretty much, I guess Team Jiraiya now would start their journey to find the next Hokage. God, I just had, damn. But pretty much what would happen is they would make it to the same hotel where Jiraiya was gonna do some research. Now Yoruichi and Sasuke would be kind of confused, but Naruto would then put his fan up to his mask, not his mask, but like his face, as he would then say, "Oh, the research. I do a lot of that." As Jiraiya would say, "Oh my boy, you too, man." No, I'm just kidding. But basically, he would head out, as they would just be sitting there in the hotel, as they'd just be chilling. As what would happen next is they would hear a knock at the door, with Naruto sensing the chakra, as Sasuke not sensing much of it, as he would go open the door, as they would see Itachi and Kisame. Now Sasuke being the one that opens the door, he would literally do an eye lock with Itachi, as automatically, as like a few seconds, as soon as they pretty much see each other, not even a few seconds, Sasuke's Sharingan would activate to his 3 Tomoe, as Itachi would be like, interesting, it seems he had some evolution at the time I was gone. As what would happen next is Naruto would get up, unsheath his sword. He would then pretty much slice at Kisame, as Kisame would then try to block it with Samihada, as he would be slammed into the wall by the momentum of the attack, as Itachi would then back up, turning into crows and forming in the middle of the hallway. After this, Kisame and Itachi would go for Naruto, thinking he had the 9 tails inside of him. Obviously he doesn't. But what would happen next is Yoruichi would just, like, when Kisame would go for to slice at Naruto, Yoruichi would then appear in between, like in front of Kisame, as she would then punch him in the face, sending Kisame flying into the wall. As Yoruichi would be like, nah. Actually, Yoruichi would kind of be a little offended, since they would go right for Naruto just by overlooking her in general, since she was actually a little bit closely just equal to Naruto, or a little bit under her, so it kind of felt disrespectful that they just overlooked her. But pretty much what would happen next is Kisame and Yoruichi would start to fight hand to hand, with Yoruichi's chakra not being absorbed much, since she has spiritual pressure. There's nothing much that can be absorbed, as she would go into her Raijin form, with the tail and shit, the same form she used against Askin, with Naruto not having to use the invention to control her, so she's on her own. Naruto would then, do awaken Benihime as he and Itachi would start to clash with, Naruto doing Bakudo number 61, Rikajo Koro, the 6 bars of light slamming into Itachi's mid-side as, Naruto would yell, "Now, Sasuke!" As pretty much what would happen is the roof would, Sasuke would then turn the atmosphere into like gray, as all of a sudden he would then summon Kirin, as what would happen is the Kirin would then start to roar as it would go right for Itachi. Itachi would have his eyes widen as for a few seconds there'd be an explosion before once the explosion would then be, dispersed. Itachi would then be seen with his full body Susanoo and him broken out of the restrainments as he would have had the Yada mirror out and like the Totsuka blade. As Naruto would be shocked. He'd be like, "Is that the..." As Itachi would finish his sentence saying, "Susanoo? Yes, it is the Susanoo. One of my clan, one of the Mangekyo abilities." As, Sasuke would then see this as he would say he survived by Kirin? Who is he? As he would then think of another option, as he would then aim his bow and arrow at Itachi, shooting the 3 arrows at him with fire tipped, as this would hit the shield. Obviously Naruto saying, "Don't waste your chakra on him. He has the Yada mirror, which deflects any attack you send at him, sort of like a mirror." As Naruto would then say, "Only one way you can defeat him." As Naruto would then say, "Bonkai." As he would go into his Bonkai with the doll, appearing behind him, or Benihime appearing behind him, as Naruto then reconstruct the Susanoo to then disperse, I guess you could say, into an atom, as Itachi would just be there, he would turn to crows, as if he stayed there any longer, he would have got compressed into a huge sludge, as he would have turned into crows, appearing outside of the Susanoo, the now really tiny Susanoo. As he would then say, "That's a good technique. I remember teaching that to you." No, I'm just kidding. He never taught that to him. But pretty much a few seconds later, Jiraiya would then appear. As pretty much Jiraiya would then use the Toad Mouth Jutsu with Itachi and, Kisame escaping the same way via, Crow. Not Crow, sorry. Why did I say Crow? Via Matarasu. So Naruto would then, be a little worried about the Akatsuki's powers, but he knows that one day he'll defeat them, and he knows exactly how. So what would happen next is they would head over to Tsunade, as I'm just gonna say this right here, right now, everything would be completely different. Naruto and Yoruichi would convince her, with Naruto being especially persuasive. He would have told Tsunade that if, she came with them, he'll pay off all her debts, and even kill Orochimaru for him. As Tsunade would then obviously accept wanting to kill the bastard. As the day when they were leaving, Tsunade would then tell Naruto and the rest of Team Jiraiya of the meeting place, as they would go there to fight Orochimaru. So Tsunade would go as per usual with Shizune, as they would go and speak with Orochimaru, with Tsunade rejecting his offer, as Kabuto would go to eliminate them. Now, all of a sudden, an arrow would pierce his wrist, as he would then scream out in pain. Obviously, this would be from Sasuke. He would have pretty much formed a lightning arrow, as he would have sent it towards Kabuto's wrist, stopping the attack. Obviously, standing into a certain bone in it that stops, causes the hand to go limp in a sense. As Naruto, Sasuke, and Yoruichi would appear in between Kabuto and Tsunade as they would get ready to fight, with Naruto recognizing Orochimaru as they would start to brawl. Jiraiya and Naruto would fight Orochimaru, while Kabuto and Yoruichi would fight... Yoruichi and Sasuke would fight Kabuto. Naruto would then be on top of the Toad, as Jiraiya didn't really get drunk, so he summoned Gamabunta as soon as he could, as Naruto would pretty much start the fight. Naruto would then pretty much swing his blade, as he would go for the snake first. So he would swing his blade at the snake, as what would happen is Orochimaru trying to make a earth-style mud wall, so to defend the snake, which wouldn't work at all. It would slice right through the snake, as the Shikai ability would go right, slice the snake in half, dispersing it. Now Naruto would then use his Shikai ability, as a huge net would then form on top of Orochimaru, as Naruto would then stab the starting point before they would all start to enlighten, before then the huge explosion would happen. Now once the explosion would then disperse, Orochimaru would be seen missing an arm, his right arm, as he would then be breathing heavily from all the burn marks he has over his body, as Orochimaru would then pretty much retreat with Kabuto at his side, using the reverse summoning jutsu. As Yoruichi and Sasuke, they were no joke to Kabuto, so Kabuto got whooped. As they then left, pretty much they would head back to the Leaf Village. Everyone would praise Naruto for bringing back the fifth Hokage, and they would also praise Sasuke and Yoruichi, as Tsunade would become the fifth Hokage, as pretty much that would mark the start of the time skip. Orochimaru would not dare to come for Sasuke. Sasuke had no jealousy towards Naruto, so the rooftop fight would never happen. And if you're wondering, how does the 3-year time skip work? Like, what's happening in this? So if you're wondering, Naruto, Yoruichi, and Sasuke would go along with Jiraiya, as they would see this as number one, training Sasuke and getting training themselves. Yoruichi didn't really have much to train on. She reached her limit, and she was still the strongest the strongest Kunoichi just out there in general. Obviously, she hasn't met Kage yet, so that would have been like a interesting fight. But pretty much in these 3 years, Naruto would train Sasuke and train himself, learning more Kido and learning a certain sealing technique, which he'll use on the masked man from the Nine-Tails attack. Obviously, Yoruichi, like I said, doesn't learn much, just knows how to compress her Shunko, so it seems like she's still in her base. She compresses it into her base form, so she doesn't actually go into the form, but she still contains all of the multipliers. As Sasuke, he would master his 3-Tomo Sharingan, gaining mastery over lightning jutsus, as he would go over fire jutsu, mastering that, learning almost every fire style jutsu he could, as he would then start to get into swordsmanship, and in this time he would become a sage. Now if you're wondering, does Naruto become a sage? Not necessarily. He has no reason to become a sage, and nor does Yoruichi, but like Sasuke, I actually saw pretty much a weeb's what if Naruto had Ultra Instinct, and I was wondering what type of sage could Sasuke be. So instead, in this time, he'll become part of the Crow Sage, I guess you could say. Now I'm gonna start going over the abilities of said sage. So pretty much what would happen is this sage, it gives you great vision, probably one of the best sensing techniques. You can sense almost anything. It's kind of like sage mode, or like the perks of sage mode. Now another perk of Crow Sage mode is you get to pretty much obviously turn into crows whenever you wish to, and you can, I guess, how do I say this? It sounds a little bit weird, but you could pretty much get tiny little crows and make a huge crow, as you and that crow could basically make combination attacks with elements. But that usually toads could do that, but crows can just do that as well. They're very adaptive. And the next thing Sasuke can do is he gains a hunter instinct. Now if you're wondering, what's this hunter instinct? So pretty much, as you saw, crows, they need to look for their food and all, and pretty much Sasuke adapting their sage jutsu, sage chakra, he'll be able to adapt their instinct. The instinct to want to constantly survive, and instinct to hunt other people. It's very infatuating. It's something everyone wants to experience at one point in their life. Not everyone, but it's just an expression. As what would happen next is Sasuke would learn this, and the hunter instinct, like I said, is just similar to that of like Ichigo holoflying. He pretty much just becomes less logical in its fighting, but relies more on his guts and his less reasoning. It's kind of hard to explain, but just instinctual fighting, sort of like Ultra Instinct. As after the whole time skip would happen, Jiraiya would then walk with them, as they would have looked older. Naruto, Yoruichi, and Sasuke would have been 19, as they were adults at this point. They could do whatever they want, and that would have just been fine. Now what would happen next is, once they would get to the village, that's when things would start. Now if you're wondering, the whole team test, that just wouldn't happen. they don't really have to prove themselves to anyone or show their strengths to anyone, since they're already strong on their own. So what would happen next is we'll just go to the Gara retrieval arc. As what would happen there is Naruto would open a portal to the Sand Village immediately. He had already been to the Sand Village during his life, so he can open a portal whenever he wishes to. As he opened the portal, as him and the rest of Team 7 would head over there, immediately heal, Kankuro, like once they find him and all, as they would head right for, they would be on like the Akatsuki's footsteps. So they would then, make it over to the base, and I'm kind of speedrunning at this point. So just prepare for that. This is going to be a long video. As once they would get to the Akatsuki base, they would then bust down the wall, as they would then just see them starting the process. Like they were fucked. As Naruto would then pretty much immediately go in with Gara, like Deidara and Sasori still recovering from getting out of the jutsu, to basically rip out the Shikaku. Pretty much all the jutsu would then be disconnected, as pretty much Naruto would then appear in front of Deidara, stabbing him through the stomach. As he then used Hado number, he would get his finger aiming at his Deidara's neck before then incantating Hado number 4, Byakurai. As a huge lightning bolt would go through his throat, just ending his life. I'm very brutal now. As what would happen next is Yoruichi and Sasuke, they would do a combination attack, infusing lightning into their hands before then lobbing off, Sasori's head. Now the shell would come off and his real form would come in, and pretty much Sasuke and Yoruichi would still keep fighting him. Sasuke would then try to slice him in half, as Yoruichi, doing insult to injury, would start punching the shell to pieces. This would end his life, as he would be on death's door. He would then tell them the location of the Akatsuki base and all, and possible meetings with Orochimaru. As pretty much what would happen is Naruto would thank him, saying that this was very unexpected from an Akatsuki member, but I truly feel bad for you. If only maybe you would have been born in the Leaf Village, maybe we could have been friends. As he would have felt little sadness come over him, as he would slice down through the puppet heart. As he'd reach into his pouch and get the map of the Akatsuki base, as now Naruto knows what the Akatsuki base looks like, so he can use a portal there anytime he feels like. So now it's just preparing at this point. So after the whole saving Gara, since Chio would still live and all, and Gara then form an alliance with the Leaf, as they would become a strong ally with the Leaf. As what would happen next is the whole training arc. The Akatsuki were coming to the Leaf Village for Naruto, and they would have been recognized as the two immortals. Naruto would be a little nervous because he's never actually fought someone who's an immortal before. Maybe the Ninetales, but that was just unintentional, and that was just him as a baby. He didn't really fight the Ninetales. As pretty much they had 2 weeks to prepare, as the two Akatsuki members would be going through the Fire Nation, being thwarted by the how do I say it? I forgot. Sorry, I'm talking about the tribe in the Fire Nation that taught Asuma. He has a symbol on his uniform. I wish I remembered. But they would have went for that first, as they would have killed one of the members, getting one of their highest monks getting their bounty. So in these 2 weeks, they would just train, getting ready. As if you're wondering, does Naruto use jutsus? I would say he only uses the abilities that Urahara has, since he's not actually weak to not use the abilities Urahara has. He's not actually needed to use chakra or anything like that, but if he needs to, he can. So pretty much they would train for the 2 weeks, as pretty much the mission would happen. Asuma would then be slain, as pretty much Naruto, Yoruichi, and Sasuke would go along with them, as Kakashi would take over as team leader, or just temporarily for that mission. Obviously Shikamaru would discuss with Naruto, as this is when Naruto gave him the idea of using his shadow paralysis and tying him up with explosive tags, as Shikamaru would actually get the idea from Naruto, or at least gain some small tips and tricks from Naruto. So pretty much they would be on that same mission when pretty much they would come across none other than Kakuzu and Hidan. Shikamaru would then use the shadow paralysis, as that's the end of Hidan. Shikamaru would take him to the same place, light up the cigarette, and light one up for Asuma, who's up there, as that's the ending of Hidan. Naruto and Yoruichi and Sasuke would be staring glares at Kakuzu as they would see his 5 hearts. Just, he didn't actually go into his fused form, but they can just sense it. As pretty much Kakuzu, knowing Naruto's strength, he would start to go into his 5 hearts form as Kakashi would start to fight him, and that fight would go exactly the same. Kakashi would almost die before Naruto would come in and save him, stabbing through another heart. As pretty much Naruto would then aim his finger at another the fire heart, or then using Hado number 63, Raikoho, as a huge lightning arc would escape from his hand, and this would hit Kakuzu's heart, and this would electrocute it, destroying it and doing massive injury to the earth heart. As Naruto would then say, I'm done with this, I hate fighting immortals. As pretty much Naruto would then say, Hado no Kuju Kurohitsuki, as a huge purple cube would form around Kakuzu before closing in, as all you would see is scraping metal going against each other, as obviously you would flinch at the sound you would hear. And once the Kurohitsuki would fall down, all you would see is slabs of Kakuzu's flesh with nothing remaining, as Naruto would then destroy the bodies by burning it to ashes. As that would have been the end of Kakuzu and Hidan. Naruto would go to Shikamaru, who had been crying. He had lost his sensei, as Naruto would then pat him on the shoulder before then walking away. That would have marked the whole, the ending of that arc, as pretty much what would happen is we'll be going over the whole Pain Assault arc. Jiraiya would then go on his mission, as Naruto, Sasuke and Yoruichi, they were waiting for him. They're kind of excited, hoping he did his mission, got the intel. Something weird would happen. He hasn't came back in over 2 weeks, and Naruto would be coming back from the mission, as he would feel something grab his shoulder. As he would look around, but there'd be no one there. What? That's so weird. What happened? As he would then just pretend that he was just seeing things or feeling things, like random things, before he would then head home. Now, the day later, Sasuke would be running to his house, as he would tell him that something happened to Jiraiya, and pretty much Naruto would then say, what? As Naruto would immediately get up, shunpoing to the Hokage's tower, as pretty much what happened is Gamakichi would try to tell Naruto something, but Gamabuto would say, don't say anything, just let Granny Tsunade deal with it, or the old lady deal with it. So once Naruto would then get up there, he would then open the door, as he would say, he was hoping to see the red cloak of Jiraiya, but he only saw the solemn look of Tsunade. As Tsunade would start to go over what happened, as Naruto would say, oh, so it's true. As Naruto would then suddenly have tears rolling down his face. He had truly bonded with Jiraiya since he was his godfather, and now that he's dead and all, he just left. He didn't even blame Tsunade. He didn't even have enough energy to do that. As he would head back to his shop, as he would just spend a few days, or just spend the rest of the day just crying, I guess you can say, or just looking depressed as fuck. As he would then pretty much get up, as he would go to the store and buy that same popsicle. As pretty much what would happen is he would be sitting there, as what would happen is Sasuke would walk up to him. He would then walk up to Naruto, splitting the popsicle in half, giving one to himself and one to Naruto, telling him that Jiraiya doesn't want him grieving here, as he'd probably want him to probably spread world peace. That had been his goal, and hopefully maybe now you can carry on his goal. I know you've been given burdens by other people and other late friends like Shisui, Itachi, or even Hiruzen, but now this is the true goal, world peace, right? As Naruto would then say, yeah, but as he would then stop talking, as he would start to think about it, wondering what he should do now. He had nothing. He truly was lost at this point. What he was going to do about the Akatsuki, and what he was going to do about himself. What was he going to do after Akatsuki? What was there to do? After all, he just ran a candy shop. There was nothing significant about him. As he would then stop thinking about these thoughts before then saying, so I assume I now feel this revenge, this feeling of wanting to kill this person who did this to him, as obviously he would have known as Nagato, pain, as Sasuke would then say, oh, so you feel it too. As pretty much what would happen is Sasuke would say, well, I think it's time we go to train for one last time. As obviously Naruto would say, of course. As what would happen is they would go training for the next 2 weeks, as they would train to their heart's content. Anything they felt they were weak at, they would train over. Any Kido that Urahara, that Naruto didn't do right, he would train over 1,000 times. Any sword swing he didn't do properly, he would start learning sword arts he never felt comfortable with. He would try everything to try to beat this person. He really wanted to see them bleed. Obviously, yeah, he would do just that. He would start to become like Unohana, start learning about like this, like Unohana knows like 8,000 sword techniques. So like, damn. As Urahara would just start learning about 15 of them in the time he had. As he would try his best to strike hand to hand, fighting Yoruichi on par, might even beating her. Even when Yoruichi was in her Raijin form, he still beat her with only his hands. No Kido technique, no Ryatsu infusing fist, nothing. As pretty much Naruto was on that grind. On the day of the invasion, Naruto would then receive news by, the Toads. He had been training on the Mount Miyaboku, as he would have gotten into the taijutsu style of the Toads. He wouldn't actually have learned Sage Mode, but he would have learned Frog Kumatais, as he pretty much could do it, but just without Sage Mode. As the Toad Gamakichi would say, the pain's attacking the village. It's in shambles. There's just a huge crater there. As Naruto would get up immediately, getting on his cloak as he was ready to fight. Naruto and Yoruichi and Sasuke would then, team up, get together before Sasuke would then summon his crows, as he would, get ready to fight. Yoruichi would go into her Shunko, as pretty much all the Toads would get their battle armor, as they were ready to defend the Leaf Village. Fubuki, I think his name it is. Not Fubuki, that's from One Punch Man. The old Toad, not the old Toad, but the old Toad. As he would, reverse summon them in the village, as Naruto would say, so this is what happened to the village. As he would look around, seeing at the destruction, only seeing the Hokage's space tower. As Naruto would then start to feel anger bubble up in him, as he would then look towards the 6 paths of pain. As he would see the robotic path coming towards him, as Naruto would just slash his head off with no difficulty whatsoever. As Naruto would have his eyes overshadowed. Before he would look up, his eyes suddenly turn red, as obviously that's the color of his Ryatsu, as his whole aura became red. His blade had suddenly, the sharp part became nothing but red, just like blood. Obviously what he's doing here is all the people he's slain, all the blood that caught onto his sword, it's starting to all come out back, as it would just, I guess it's kind of symbolic, since the Crimson Red Princess and all, and red is, blood is red and all, it seems fitting for Urahara. So what would happen next is pretty much we start to fight. Sasuke would get his 3 Tomoe Sharingan, as he would go into his Crow Sage mode, as he would start to fall into his instinct, and Yoruichi would kind of do the same, going into a Raijin form. As Naruto would then suddenly get, throw hands to hands with the Praetor Path, and the Praetor Path would try to absorb his chakra, but he would just suddenly look at death itself. As suddenly, what would happen is the Praetor Path would then see Benihime, as he would then start to shiver. Benihime had looked at him with the intense glare, as the Praetor Path would just fall over, dead. As pretty much what happened is Naruto's chakra, or Naruto's spiritual pressure was coursing through the Praetor Path's veins and crushed his heart from the inside. Naruto would then turn around before slicing, as he would send someone running towards him, and this would have been the Animal Path, as he would slice the Animal Path in half, vertically. As pretty much, obviously that's kind of like the way they sliced Gerald in half, that's a type of half I mean. As Naruto would then dice her bodies into, she would just dismember her body. It's brutal. As Sasuke would then say, I need some of this, I need some of the bodies too, as he would start stretching, as then he would then use fire style, fireball jutsu, as then he would send a fireball right at Pain, as Pain would use his universal push an almighty push, as Naruto would then use his 5-second delay as he was studying Pain, and you can see the delays in his techniques. So Naruto would then appear in front of Pain for slicing down, as Pain would have just been done for. Naruto would have sliced him down and pretty much reverse tracked the location, as Team 7 would then start being cheered on by the village, but Naruto would then say have one thing to deal with, as Naruto and Sasuke would head back to the tree, with Yoruichi kind of tired from the fight. So she told him, like she told Naruto and Sasuke, don't take too long, as they would walk forward. Now once they would get there, they would open the tree, or Naruto would open the tree, as once they would get there, Naruto would just put his sword back into his cane as he was ready to talk, as he would look towards Nagato, or whatever that looked like, as Konan was ready in a defensive manner, but Naruto would just look at her, as Konan could see there was no killing intent for some reason. Wasn't Naruto like pretty much outputting his killing intent the whole time? Why wasn't he just immediately going to kill Nagato? What's wrong? As what would happen next is there'd be a deep conversation between Naruto and Nagato, with Sasuke chipping in with most of the conversation, as pretty much at the last moment Naruto would pull out the book, as he would say, this book, it was named after Naruto Uzumaki, and my name is Naruto Uzumaki. Jiraiya wrote this book before I was born, and pretty much my parents got this idea to name me, but there's something in the end. He wrote about a certain student he trained years ago. His name was Uzumaki Nagato. He has said that he was the reincarnation of the Sage's Six Paths, so he hoped that maybe he carried the will of the Sage's Six Paths. Maybe he was above such thing as hatred. As Nagato would start wiping his eyes, as tears would start falling out of his eyes, as he would realize his whole mistake of wanting to control the world. He had simply became weakened. The people who hurt him he had truly became like him. It was truly scary. As Nagato would then form his hands, as he would look towards Sasuke. He would then say, I hope what you were saying wasn't just lies and propaganda. As he would then use the art of Rinne birth, as what would happen is he would then say, Sasuke Uchiha, I truly believe in you. As he would then rip out his Rinnegan before then handing it over to Konan to give to Sasuke. As Konan would be like, what, Nagato, what are you doing? As Nagato would then say, I'm not really gonna be here much long, so I might as well go out being the hero, like Jiraiya, or like Naruto Uzumaki. As Naruto would then look up, as he would then kind of sadden a little bit, as Sasuke would then be handed the Rinnegan, as Nagato would die. All the other people who have died in the pain attack would then be revived, and pretty much that would mark the end. Konan would then be outside, as she would have Nagato's body covered in paper, going to bury him in the rain village, as she would hand over flowers of paper, or like origami, not origami, but kind of like both, as she would hand it to Naruto like a blossom of flowers. As Naruto would then thank her, as Konan would tell Sasuke, please use that sacrifice to good wish. As Sasuke would nod his head, as Konan would walk away. Naruto would then say, oh, so I simply need help with that? Sasuke would then say, yeah. So Naruto would then use his Bankai for a few seconds, pretty much making it so Sasuke's body was numb, as then he would then carefully but surely take out his Sharingan, as he would put in the Rinnegan. Now what would happen is, Naruto would then pretty much put the Sharingan in a safe place, as he would say, you can do whatever you want with it. Hell, if you want to, you can give it to someone. As Sasuke would say, okay. As he would put it into a scroll, as pretty much what would happen is Sasuke would receive the Rinnegan. As he would open his left eye, as you would then see his eye was purple. It had the no Tomoe Rinnegan pretty much, but soon he'll have that Tomoe Rinnegan. But pretty much Naruto would then say, you look kind of interesting with that purple eye. It's kind of interesting. As Sasuke then smile, as they would then walk back to the village. They would then be welcomed by Sakura, what am I saying? Yuruichi and Kakashi, with Kakashi helping them walk, as he would be standing behind them. I guess not standing behind them, but in between them, like helping carry them. They had been really tired from the fight, as once they would get there, they'd be, Naruto would be thrown up into the air by a bunch of villagers, as Naruto would close his eyes, as he would say, "I finally done it. True happiness." Or at least that's what he thinks. Obviously, we'll be going over the attack on the Akatsuki base and what's gonna happen. So I'm gonna go over that right now. Now, pretty much what's gonna happen next is, after about a week of helping rebuild the village with Naruto using his his Bankai to reconstruct a lot of people to have Earth style, they started rebuilding the village, and he even gave people Wood style temporarily so they can rebuild some of the houses and all. So the building just went tremendously fast. As what would happen next is the Cloud Village, the Cloud Ninja would come, and they would give Naruto the invite to the summit, and there would be no really altercation, as Naruto would graciously accept it, telling them that hopefully they can be future allies, as pretty much I think her name is Karui, would just scoff as she would walk away, as Naruto would then say, "I guess people aren't really used to the fact of having peace, but soon I'll erase all people's hatred from their hearts, or at least most of it, coming from the curse of hatred." As pretty much what would happen next is, it was the day of the attack on the Akatsuki base. Naruto had the portal ready to go, as pretty much what happened is all of the Konoha's strongest ninja would be ready, with all of the Yanbu, Naruto, Sasuke, Yoruichi. And by the way, I'm going to be going over one thing before the flashback. So one day after the invasion, Sasuke would be walking through the village, as he would be in the forest area before Itachi would summon in front of him. Now what would happen is, Itachi would then say, "Sasuke, I think we should finish things. I assume you'd want to as well." As Sasuke would then say yes. As Sasuke and Itachi, they would run towards the Uchiha clan hideout, as that was a clone, by the way. As once he would get there, he would see Itachi sitting in the throne, as the fight would go kind of different. Sasuke would then use his Rinnegan abilities whenever Itachi would try to use any attacks on him, as Itachi would be surprised at the Rinnegan and how he even got it. But this is when we'll go to when pretty much Sasuke would then use the universal pull, as he would get his sword out, as he would then infuse it with lightning, as pretty much Itachi, seeing this, is about to hit him. He's probably gonna die from this attack. As Itachi, flying towards, Sasuke, would then use his Susanoo, as pretty much he would raise this Tosuke blade, as Sasuke would say, I thought I told you this doesn't work on me. As Itachi would go slice down, as pretty much what would happen is what am I saying? Sasuke would then pretty much use his universal push, as the sword would go flying into Itachi, injuring him, as the impact from also getting sent flying back does hurt him. Now the Susanoo would then disperse, as what would happen is Sasuke would walk up to him, as he would demand an explanation of what really happened. As Itachi, thinking that he finally beat him, he earned it, as he would start to explain to Sasuke what really happened, as pretty much what would occur next is he was gonna die. He would then tell Sasuke that he truly did love him. He never hated him whatsoever, as he wished things were different. He wished that he could possibly be his actual brother and have a second chance. As he would think he was going to close his eyes, Sasuke would quickly summon the King of Hell, as he would throw Itachi in, as he would jump in himself, as suddenly what happened is Itachi's body would start to glow, and so would Sasuke, as they would suddenly be healed. Itachi would then feel his strength coming back, as he would feel his lungs. They were breathing. He was breathing properly, as Itachi would be like, "Oh, interesting." As he would get up, as he would then look at Sasuke, as he would say, "Oh, so I see you truly changed. You truly became a warrior. After all this time, I thought you would kill me, or you would let me die, but it seems you truly became a person, a real warrior, and you saved me. That's why That's why I hope I can tell you the truth about the power you could possibly get. As pretty much what would happen is Sasuke would be like, what do you mean? As Itachi would start to explain to Sasuke what the Eternal Mangekyou Sharingan was, as pretty much he tells Sasuke that he was running out of sight from the Mangekyou. As Sasuke, due to learning the Uchiha massacre, the truth and all, he would gain the EMS. As let's just say him and Itachi, or I don't know, what's it called? What happened is Sasuke would give that eye that he got from taking out the Rinnegan, give it to Itachi, as then he would take out his other eye, get Itachi's eye, and then just put in the other eye, keeping the Rinnegan. How do I say this? The Rinnegan itself formed with his soul in a sense. So anytime he takes it out, he can still I guess his eye still transforms into the Rinnegan and all. It's kind of hard to explain, but I hope you get it. As what would happen is Sasuke would get the EMS with Itachi getting the EMS, as they would spend the rest of the time training, bonding together, and seeing Sasuke's friend Naruto, which obviously he knows who Naruto is, as this was pretty much almost like his little brother, as he had missed Naruto from all the years he had been away, as he had truly seen Naruto as a brother, not some sappy shit. As pretty much we'll time skip to the day of the invasion, or time skip back to the day of the invasion. They would all be in a battle armor, or with swords out, or any weapons. Only high tier ninja would here, and even Tsunade herself would be going along with Kakashi, and like I said, all the other high tier ninja. Now what would happen is they would jump through the portal as the invasion on the Akatsuki hideout was happening. Naruto would then run through, as they would start slaying Kisame, whoever who's left of the Akatsuki. They would then pretty much take care of the rest. There was barely any members, so there was Kisame, Zetsu, Black Zetsu. After they took all of the Zetsus down, they would then find Kabuto and Orochimaru, as they went back to the Akatsuki and hopefully going to new bodies. Pretty much what would happen is Orochimaru wanted to take over one of the bodies of Zetsu's and severely upgrade it, but that that didn't really happen yet. He was still waiting to finally have the Zetsu keep growing so we can take over the body. But pretty much what happened is the Konoha Akatsuki Slayer team, I'm just kidding, they would go through and kill Orochimaru and Kabuto. I don't really have to go much over this. It's not even it's not even a battle, as Naruto would then be facing Obito, or the masked man, as Naruto would then say, "This is for killing my parents." As suddenly red lights would appear from inside of Obito's body, as spikes would start to appear, as Naruto would then suddenly seal Obito using the same seal he used against Aizen, but much more improved. As what would happen is he would walk up to the seal, as he would then turn the seal into dust. Obviously this being sending Obito with it. This would end everything. Obito couldn't resurrect Madara, who couldn't become the 10 Tails Jinchuriki, and since the 9 Tails isn't a thing anymore, that can't start the 10 Tails, which then revives Kaguya, which then starts all the Otsutsuki shit, because then they sense Kaguya. But yeah, that would have marked the end. They would have slayed the Akatsuki. Naruto would have obviously officially gotten with his newly wife, I guess you could say, Yoruichi, as Sasuke, I don't know what Sasuke does. I don't know. Okay, y'all choose. I don't care. As Naruto, this time not really becoming the Hokage, as he did something much better that Hiruzen hopefully can be proud of. He ended the cycle of hatred. He brought peace upon the nations. As if you're wondering who becomes the Hokage, it'd be Itachi. He had always had the mindset of the Hokage, and he was truly fit to be Hokage. But without further ado, guys, that'll be the end of this What If. I truly have a headache now, and I truly hope to end this here. But without further ado, guys, rip my Premiere Pro and roll that outro.